LMS nurse counter repair for $1,500, and this is repairing broken counter in nurse's office at the middle school.
Once again, we were not able to get a updated quote
This
for
is
that.
just like a regular countertop, or is it like with cabinets underneath it, or?
I think we're trying to get rid of the cabinets. It's like from whenever the school was first built. It is, like, you can't get to the electrical outlet behind it and stuff like that. Well, you can, but it's
Take some work.
it's a mess of a counter.
So is this gonna be a floating counter then?
No, they're just gonna simplify it and make it, like, just nicer. Like, I don't know, just more efficient. Maybe that's the best way of describing it. It's broken in different aspects of it. Like, it's kind of a mess.
Bet you the gentleman who's doing all the GMS work could certainly do this too.
Right, exactly. So I'll make that motion to do the LMS nurse counter repair for $1,500.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Plansky, second by Mr. Shoemaker. Additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0.
Before we get too far down the list, can we just take a check in on like the items that we were bolding to make sure that we are keeping track of the things that would have been done?
I think-
What
Yeah,
the total is?
I think.
Yeah.
About
everyone-
107.
About 100 and something thousand.
107, 5056.
we're
So
out.
far, has it been all of the things that we voted on?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're out again.
Okay.
We're out again?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, it's
Poor
just-
Declan.
It's fine, it'll just randomly crash. We have it all recording, so like we'll just upload
It will be
later.
posted, yeah.
Figures it's the one meeting that a lot of people watch.
I know, they're like,
I've been running for now.
Okay, all right.
Well, glad we got down to 0.
It's probably
Yeah.
because there's so much volume, right?
And done.
So many hits tonight. 10 views. 10 views, that's what's crashing it. Yeah, okay.
The double digits did it, pushed it over the edge.
All right, next up, we have the LMS volleyball net replacement for $3,798. This was a big discussion item during the budgeting process. The original netting system is quite dated, and it has deteriorated to a point of no return.
Yep.
I will make a motion to get this LMS volleyball net replaced for the amount of $3,798.
Second.
Took it over for me.
That's okay. I'm not a huge fan of that
Give
one.
you a break.
I'd like to see what else we're gonna spend money on before we do everything.
No, I'm a big fan of this one.
All right.
This one needs to
Motion by
happen.
myself, Mr. Shoemaker. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 5-0.
Is this a bold?
I think it has to. Would we even be able to play or host games next year with our current? I was under the impression we would not.
I
that
don't
they-
think so, yeah.
That,
Like,
that the referees were the ones
they
who
weren't
were,
happy,
yeah.
so.
We'd be catering a lot of kids to the ambulances.
Watch out.
Okay.
Can we do these two together?
Would you
the
like
same
that?
thing?
Yeah, I remember there was an issue with
So I can speak
with
to this.
LMS the
Yeah.
on the side.
Yep.
towards the
So
sewage
it just
treatment.
happened to be Sophia's 8th grade class was in the woods the day they did the Alice drill. They were out there for science for some reason, and they had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
They did not even hear or know the Alice drill was happening, and then they had to walk towards the building, and again, the police are there, and then they had to walk back, and it just ended up being one of those areas, just the loudspeaker misses from where so it needed that extra speaker, so, and I think they had the same problem at GMS in
Is
one particular
GMS
area.
on the kind of, if you're looking at the school, the front right-hand corner by the street?
Yeah.
Because I've been there too, and you can't hear anything.
Can't hear anything, yeah. I don't know
All
where it is.
teachers have the radios, though? I mean, shouldn't they be aware through other
Not all
communication
teachers.
devices?
No.
Well, the other thing too is like if you have people that are outside the building, you don't want them coming into the building.
Yeah.
If there's the blue
So
lights
they-
don't show up.
They should, so a couple of things. Not every teacher has their own radio.
No.
But if a teacher is going out to do something in the woods, they should grab a radio. Like, that's why the schools, offices have probably like 3 or 4 extra radios for these type of things. So, you know, if a science teacher is going out to take a walk in the woods to examine
Yeah.
leaves or whatever they're doing, they should stop by the office, grab a radio. So in the event something happens, they can hear the action on the radio.
Well, and I think maybe one of the problems is during BEST, a lot of classes go out for walks, and there may not be enough radios, I don't know about that.
But it also, I mean, if we're talking worst case scenarios, people radioing might not be able to radio.
Yeah.
Right, so
Sure.
like, that's kind of, and, you know, I don't know, with the PA systems, if you have it working in one half of the building, it should work in the other half, so.
Yeah. No, I see this as a safety need, so I think this is necessary. I'll make the motion to approve GM and the LMS PA horn, each of them with a cost of $1,987.50.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Ames, second by Mr. Shoemaker. Additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 5-0.
Curious about this one.
This one was late because we watched everything unfold in the last 2 weeks, and,
So let's explain it. So this is
It's-
additional folding chairs for GMS and LMS, and this is 200 chairs, it appears to be at each school?
each school. This would allow each school to have their own set of folding chairs, so we're not driving folding chairs around the district, right? It's kind of bonkers that we're driving folding chairs to set up for graduations, for 8th grade nights, for 4th grade promotions, like all this stuff around all the buildings, right? I mean, I left this as a priority one, maybe it's not a priority one, but just like, it was maddening to watch in the past week, so,
Well, that's custodial time or time that could have been used, facility
Yeah.
time on a million other things.
and I know this isn't that big of a deal because everyone's sitting in the seats, but it kind of drove me nuts that the seats weren't all the same at graduation. And maybe I'm like one of the few people who like notices those things. This is like my crazy like planning graduation.
Little
ad.
OCD over there?
Yeah. So, and that's because we're sharing all the chairs, you know, and like we're dragging up the GMS ones, because they were in the best shape, you know, and not using others. So, yeah. Sorry, I'm crazy. I know.
This is not a priority for me.
It's not a
For
priority, I
$7,200
know.
bucks. I mean, I would leave it maybe to the end
Yeah,
to see
yeah.
where we're at.
That's fine.
Me too, and
I
I
understand.
think we also potentially have a storage issue at the building, so where are we gonna put all these things?
Well, the new ones, so what we would kind of target is the ones that the PTO got for GMS that are, like, take up, like, probably I would say like a third of the space that the old ones did, the way that these plastic, like, they're higher quality plastic, but they stack really nicely and easily. So if you can think of those metal folding ones, that's essentially what they got rid of, and it takes up about a third of the space. So GMS at least has the space because they have gotten rid of those other ones, or some of those other ones that they've put away some of those other ones. LMS, I'm not as sure where we would put them, but we would find the answer to that.
I mean,
But-
and it looks like it's only a single chair dolly, right? Because the quote only has 2 chair dollies. on
Right,
it,
'cause
right?
you-
So
Instead of
it's a
one-
single
one
dolly
rack.
per school,
Yeah.
single rack.
Yeah.
And if I look at the ratchet strap, you're looking at a 15-foot long ratchet strap. So you're looking at 15 by, 2 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be fine with this, but I agree maybe moving it down until we've done a few of the other things.
Okay, that one gets tabled. Ropes course, so,
So you
One of
don't
them-
have the quote there, we have it in an email, and we just couldn't figure out how to link it, because we've been going, Ryan, I get the name right? Or Jason?
Ryan, yep,
Yeah,
you got
going,
it, you got it.
with Ryan from Wingspeed, I keep wanting to call him Jason. Ryan from Wingspeed, he gave us a quote for $5,400 for the, removal of everything, and then, he's getting us a final quote for, the disposal of some of the related pieces, if he was gonna take them away from us. So this 6,600, while we don't have that final amount for, the disposal piece of it, what the 6,600 estimate is what's in next year's budget, proposed budget for the ropes course stuff, right? So we've talked about applying that stuff in the FY '26 budget for the removal of the ropes course, so that's the estimate that we have here.
But that's not in the default budget, right?
It's not in the default budget.
So it'd be another one of these things we'd have to find $6,600
Yes.
someplace else?
If
Can
we
you just
move
take his
forward
stuff
with
to the
removing
dump?
it. Not all of it, not all of it. There's
But
some,
hold on a minute though,
Yeah.
right? Because we have budgeted every year for ropes course work. What's been that budget number?
that's the 6,600.
So there should be money in the default budget for ropes course.
For the insurance, yes. Yeah, oh, I see what you're
think,
saying.
yeah,
Yes.
for the
that's
inspection
For
and
the
the-
inspection and for
and the
that,
equipment.
the equipment stuff, yeah, so there
We
is,
can just use
Yes.
that.
So we could use budgeted money out of the default budget to cover this work.
correct.
So I think we plan for that.
Yeah, I think we do too, because we specifically had that in the budget for that purpose. Board member thoughts?
No, I would agree. I mean, if we got budgeted money and we're looking to get rid of it, I mean, we can spend that money this year and then we save the insurance cost.
But I think you're gonna have, both of them is gonna essentially, it's gonna wash itself out.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
we'd
Now,
better
in
just get rid
future
of
years,
this.
we won't have the budget for the insurance,
Right.
right, cause there'll be no more ropes course, but, and you want their budget for those recurring
Right.
repair costs, right, so you'll save that in the proposed budget down the road.
Yeah, that's what I was more thinking of, not immediately next year, but every year thereafter.
And this gives us a little bit, potentially more to return to the taxpayers.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Shoemaker, your thoughts?
Good with it.
Okay,
So
so that one gets off.
I'm gonna delete it altogether,
Okay.
just for simplicity.
GMS cameras for $5,075.
Alright.
We have well, why don't we just do cameras in general? We have GMS cameras for $5,075. We have LMS cameras for $8,600. We have CHS cameras for $4,985. Collectively, between the three, $18,660. These are cables and installation of additional cameras that were paid with grant funds. So if
So
they're paid
I-
with grant funds, why are we talking about them in encumbrance?
Great question that we asked ourselves. So,
Yeah, I had the
we were
question
able
too.
to secure the physical cameras, so this was a safety grant that was gotten by the district prior
Last
to
year,
us
right?
being
Right.
here.
Before you
Yes,
guys came.
Before we got here.
Yes.
And it had to be spent up sometime this year, maybe
By the end of the-
December?
yes.
End of December. And so Chris went ahead and bought additional cameras, cause that fell under the parameters of said grant. He didn't want the money to go to waste, so he's been sitting on these cameras and now is looking to install them and stuff.
How many cameras are we talking about here? And do we need this, could we just hold them as cameras die and replace them then if we have enough coverage?
I mean, that is something we could do as well, yeah. Like,
Unless
it's the
we
same,
have, unless we have a bunch of blind spots, I don't know
Yeah,
why.
that would be my only question is, do we have an idea of where these things are gonna go? Are they known blind spots?
There are, I mean,
Yeah.
I would trust the district to put them in places there are currently known blind spots. They don't have enough camera angles
Yeah.
to do it all. There are areas, I mean, obviously they would not be put into private areas, by any means, but they would be for safety, right?
yeah, yeah.
It seems like a lot of money to put in, and I don't know how many cameras we're talking about here.
On the quotes, I think it does have the number of cameras, cause the camera, the cameras and the installation and cables are all in the same. So let me see,
Two,
for
three,
Griffin, yeah,
4,
8
yeah.
at this, whichever school this is.
This is
10,
GMS.
12.
Yeah, so for GMS, I'm seeing 16 cameras plus licensing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, all we would be paying for is the installation, right?
right, and the
The
cable.
cable.
Because
mean-
the quote's 13,000, but the
Yeah.
encumbrance is not. The encumbrance is 5,000.
5, yeah.
But if the encumbrance is 5,000 and the labor to install is 44,800 at GMS, why are we encumbering
It's
more
the
than?
275 above it,
Cable
4,800 and then the 275.
Thank you.
So we already have the licenses for all of this?
Yeah,
Yes.
it was all paid for with that grant money, so I mean, I'm not sure why we wouldn't do this.
I agree.
So I'll make a motion, I mean, and I'll do it as one unless people wanna go through it individually, but, to approve $5,075 for GMS camera installation, $8,600 for LMS camera installation, $4,985 for CHS camera installation.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Ames, second by Mr. Shoemaker. Additional discussion?
I'm just not super comfortable with, do we really need them?
I know that there was some conversation about it in emergency management about blind spots.
I remember there was something at the high school, there was an issue, and it was in kind of a known blind spot. I just don't know how many of those we have. So we can,
I know there was an issue at LMS and it was in a known blind spot as well. So I do think it's, no matter how many, I think they're necessary.
I like the fact that they
Jen
were
said
paid
they
for
have
with
not
grants,
blind spots.
and this is simply the labor.
to put 'em in.
Put them in. We're not funding the entire thing.
Because if we don't do it, the cameras just sit there.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? 5-0.
Radio.
We have radios, more radios for $6,292.47.
So we have two in the next year's budget of these, and we got an additional quote for additional radios, because as the year kind of went on, and I'll just speak for myself, one of these is for me. You know, I would like my own radio in my office. So we've just identified some people that might be beneficial if they have their own radio. And Julie would be one of these
Yes.
people.
You don't have one?
We have one for the
Strange.
SAU, that's it.
Okay, yeah.
So it sits in the kind of common space that anyone can grab it, but, I think I need a radio.
I think all of you do.
I think you rate a
Yes.
radio anyway.
I usually take Lauren's.
Yeah, what's that?
You certainly rate a radio.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of additional radios in the amount of $6,292.47.
Second.
Motion and a second for radios. Additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 5-0. Floor stripper.
Didn't we put a floor stripper in this budget?
We put in the
In the-
The
proposed.
proposed
amount
budget, and
because
then
of
with
the fall.
default, it doesn't happen.
So the
Yeah.
floor
Back in.
stripper, just to remind those who didn't follow along in the budget process or refreshing everyone, this is for $4,779, and this is to start to replace the floor strippers at each of the schools into an annual program over the next 3 years. So this will be the first of 3 years where we're replacing those.
Yes.
I think I distinctly remember this conversation because I remember Dave Ross being asked a question about renting, and I Googled it while we were talking about it, and I think that the break even is like 2 years. It's like,
Yeah.
it was pretty much a no-brainer.
And I think he wanted two, right?
He
He wanted three.
One's with three,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he was willing to go one a
One
year.
a year.
So what's the expected lifetime of these?
We've had the current ones a long time.
I think we've had them for like 10 years, right?
They've been around a long
Yeah,
time.
ones
been-
we have
yeah.
are older.
Yeah. The break even was like, it
What's
was
the
like a no-brainer.
portability
Yeah, no, I-
of this to transit between the schools?
It's okay, you
Yeah,
can, you
they
can
can
throw
do
it
it.
up on the truck with a couple people lifting it up. I mean, it's not light, you
Throw it
know,
in the
but.
Yeah.
I do think though, when we're like talking about the chairs and stuff like that, we don't, we're spending a lot of time, or we're paying people to spend a lot of time going back and forth. So I do think it is something to consider.
And that's a big piece with this as well, is that this does not require all the chemicals and all the things that we're using now, so there's no PFAs or anything like that. You don't have to wait for everything to dry and do multiple coats. There's so much money we're gonna be saving on labor. It's just gonna be a lot more efficient process.
No, I'll go with, I'm in favor of this, just do we need to replace it every 3 years?
No, you're not replacing.
If we're gonna do an annual replacement, one a year, or is this just to
It's
get
just so we
us
can get one
three?
new one.
Just to get us 3 new ones.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what, yeah. I mean, I guess we could see how they do lugging them back and forth. I mean, the other thing with lugging them back and forth is they're more exposed to potential damage.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the floor stripper for this one for LMS for $4,779.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Ames, second by Mr. Shoemaker. Additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Heidi, can you tell me where we are in money
Abstained?
right now?
5-0.
Sorry?
Do you know where we are, how much we've spent so far?
Yep, let me add it up here, cause we did not do the folding chairs.
You want me to bold cameras?
So it's 151 minus the folding
I have
chairs.
144,560.
That's the one.
I haven't bolded the last few, but I can bold some of them.
Sure.
Bold cameras and radios. And stripper, floor stripper. Floor stripper, make sure I say floor stripper.
Didn't that happen during the
That did
budget process?
happen. We're like, I'm sorry?
Clarifications?
I was waiting. All right, next up
Right in the
is,
panic doors.
that's all related. Next up, back to Griffin. We have panic doors.
So- This is for every exterior set of doors here.
I don't think it is, I think it's just the, I
Nine
thought it was
sets
just
of
the
doors.
nine
It
closer to
is.
the street.
Well, it's 9
We-
sets
Yeah.
that Dan Mitchell identified as would be the most critical for him.
But
I don't-
even from there, you know, we talked to him a little bit more. I think he has like 2 that are like, if you're gonna do this, I need
Right.
2, right? You know, the one by, is it
Between the ninth and
First
third
First
grade.
building.
grade, right, that one right there, and then the calf set, right? So, 9 is like,
It's a
hey,
huge,
if we can do it, yeah, but it's a lot of money.
it's a lot, I think it's a worthwhile thing, and maybe we can do less than 9,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Right.
yeah.
so.
Could we,
Do half.
oh, I was gonna say, can we go up to and then have him reassess? Because I'm picturing there's the first grade wing near the old building, near the 19 whatever building, and then there is the cafeteria doors, and then off of the cafeteria, there is another set of doors right there that people can walk in next to the, I think it's a special ed room right now.
Yep.
Well, then
That
the
would
one-
be 3 sets
And then the one on
right
the
there
back side that has a straight shot.
to
To the
to
street
the
that's over
street,
there.
right?
Yeah.
So I mean,
So
I
maybe we do 4?
mean,
Yeah.
I'm
It's
counting
about half.
4 right there.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree. I think that's half, right?
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
4.5 would be half,
Four and a
but we're not
half,
gonna do
but,
half
you
of them.
yeah, but labor.
So
you're
one
gonna
door
have-
would
I
lock, and
passed
the other door
that.
would just kick wide open.
Can the quote be broken down like that?
Well, I
'Cause
don't know. I was looking at the quote. I don't.
It doesn't seem to like be per door. It-
Right.
But if you said, could you say right now, the cost up to 4 sets of doors,
Yes.
and then we can get the.
Then we can get the number.
Yes.
Yeah, because the calf might be a little bit
More,
more.
Yeah.
That might be why it's not a.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the GMS panic doors for the cost up to 4 sets of doors, the GMS exterior doors.
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. Shoemaker. Additional discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0. That will obviously fluctuate the totals.
Yep.
Because we don't know that cost.
Right, because
Yeah.
there's programming and stuff they have to do like,
yeah.
Yeah.
to make it work, so.
Yeah.
But we do have a quote on that, so I think it'd be pretty easy to probably get that amended to
Yeah.
We need it.
4 doors.
Okay, next up, critical response mappings. This was something that the superintendent presented, was it at our last meeting or at one of our recent meetings for the mapping of the district and the schools in a grid type system, supported by the police department and fire department, for $12,260.
Can you just give me maybe a little bit
Yep,
more?
100%.
Because I wasn't there for that.
Yeah, so, went to this presentation put on by Hudson PD, that a lot of different police departments, municipal groups were there. Essentially, this group comes in and does the mapping that they do for essentially the military level, where it's a common set of gridding that emergency personnel are used to using. So for example, and it's based upon true north, and so a group could come in and say, the issue is in A9, right? And everyone's got the same map, because they provide all of these maps to all of your emergency personnel, whoever you want it to be. And then everyone can react to that situation, because everyone has different code language for the
Rather than
different
saying
things. Right, like
Talent
we
Road
might
or
say,
whatever.
like,
Right.
or we might say like, hey, it's in the skills classroom, where police might say, hey, it's in room 213, or fire might say, hey, it's in room 8, because they're using a window thing, A113, right? You know, something like that. So
Well, then
this
you
puts
have,
everyone
you
on
have,
the ground.
for smaller towns like ours, definite mutual aid.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
So it was a great presentation. I do want to be upfront. There's a potential, if you want to, you don't have to. You can do it in one shot and you just buy this. But if you want to pay a recurring cost of $560 for each of the schools, then they would update the mats if you had any changes to your facility in it.
Did we find out, like, if you just wanted to update, like, would they charge the full $12,000 again? Like, if you didn't pay the $560 annually, and, like, let's just say in 4 years, you'd.
They were cagey about it, right? So I think it's
Well, it's
the
hard to
level of, like, if we were to say renovate GMS and it became a completely different layout.
Yeah,
I
that
think
would
they're
make-
gonna
Well,
recharge
then I
you.
think we're better to
Yeah.
pay the $560 recurring,
Yeah.
because
It would be-
something's gonna change.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would propose that recurring bit in the budget process next year.
yeah.
Right.
And then we can
Yeah.
decide if
That
that's
makes
something
sense.
you want to work.
I will also just say is I'm on the first responder team at my campus at work, and we had an incident of where the immediate first aid responders that work in the buildings didn't know where the location was because the mapping was done in a way that is not consistent between buildings or is easy to find. So I am all in favor for this.
I'm appreciative of the safety aspects of this. I think what I'm having a hard time balancing on this one is the fact that small town, right, and our fire department and police department are fairly knowledgeable of our schools.
Yeah, but it's the mutual aid thing, right? Like, if we have an issue, we are absolutely needing help from surrounding towns. And I think when you start to have multiple departments, that's where it really becomes.
Londonderry or Hudson may not know our buildings as well. I mean, I'm sure they know them somewhat. But.
I thought it was fascinating when they were doing the presentation. Like, I never thought about the True North bit. Like, we always in schools refer to it from like the front entrance, and then everything is mapped out from there, right? But if you're in a school that the front entrance may not be, this is not true necessarily at Campbell, but a little bit with Griffin,
Yeah.
where it's not necessarily clear. Like, if you're coming from the outside,
Yeah, you don't
you almost think the 30s building is the main
Yeah.
entrance to Griffin. Like,
Oh, you do? That's why we had to put the sign.
yeah, yeah, and so, you know, that is, I think a component of this is that you're using a directional code for it all, not necessarily like, I don't know, the use.
That was a Homeland Security thing several years ago, because there wasn't a sign there.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah, yeah.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion on this one.
I'll make a motion to approve the critical response mapping for all three schools at a cost of $12,260 and yeah.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Dewitt, second by Mr. Shoemaker. Is that your first motion?
Probably, maybe.
Floodgates have opened.
This is a big moment.
We usually have balloons drop
I
down.
know, right?
Where's the confetti cannon?
Little party poppers.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0.
I will also say that I'm taking my safety team at my building and saying, now I want signs in the hallways as to when you come into an intersection, where are you in that grid, in that map?
I'd like to see a kind of a report of how all that gets mapped out.
Yeah, happy to do it.
Yeah.
Cause it was a really cool presentation.
Yeah, so once it gets done,
Yeah.
right, I'd like to
Yep.
see some type
Yeah.
of.
No,
report on how
But yeah, the finished product.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, they also do the fields, right? They do the grounds as
they do the whole
well.
ground, so they do that big one of, they call it, I don't remember the exact terms, but like a major and a minor essentially. So the major is your entire campus or whatever it is that you want from that big picture. So for a school, it would be the fields and the building and everything connected to it. And then the minor is specifically kind of the school building itself and everything off of it.
Okay. Next up, LMS ball fields. Weed kill, rototill, and spread new diamond mix. So this is one selfishly that I've asked the superintendent to add. Just in full disclosure.
The softball field looks like,
This is the softball field and the baseball field, for both. So just, to recap on this one, if the board may recall, when we had the new school as a warrant article, the intention was for these ball fields to be replaced at, or repositioned at the middle school, right? And for those ball fields to go away, the current ball fields. Obviously, that didn't happen, so now we're gonna maintain the ball fields that we currently have. The ball fields that are there are pure cement. It's just that simple. They haven't been maintained. They're truly in very rough shape, and they just need some love. They need some maintenance. They need some new dirt. But in order to get some new diamond mixed dirt on them, similar to what was applied at Dara last year. If you've been to Dara, they have new dirt on those fields, similar to that. They just need to be rototilled. They need to be turned up. They need to be weed killed, and then new dirt applied.
So it's just the diamond basically that they're doing?
Just the infield
Just
diamond.
the diamond, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's just the
For,
infield diamond.
for both. I mean, years ago, when
both
my kids were
baseball.
little, the
Yeah.
Little League did the softball field and maintained the softball field at the LMS softball field. And it was always fantastic.
Yeah.
But they did it.
That's it. It just needs some TLC,
I
right?
don't think
So
anybody,
these
does anybody play there now?
the girl, yeah, the sports teams do.
The LMS teams play there, they don't play it there?
So they've been splitting it between
Yeah.
Dara and there, right? I think their playoff games were at Dara, but
Yeah, I mean, there's been plenty of times I go pick up my daughter from soccer practice, right? And LMS or GMS parking lot is packed full of people on those fields for games. So I can attestify they are used.
Andrew, I
Make a
think we should
motion.
make
I'll
the
make the
motion.
motion. So I'll make a motion to approve the LMS ball fields work for $6,530.
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. Shoemaker. Additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0. Next up is GMS classroom carpet replacement for $1,800. This is carpet replacement cycle at $360 a classroom.
So this is some that we had to trim some of this because of the fall. So this would be to do all of what we intended in the proposed budget for the carpeting.
Yeah, I think we need to.
Is
Those
this-
carpets are
is this
disgusting.
enough, is my
Yes.
question.
You ever sat? first
Is
grade
it,
classroom?
I mean, if you wanna do every classroom at GMS, go for it, because they're all gonna need it. But the idea is to do one class per year.
One grade,
Right.
you mean?
Sorry, one grade per year,
Okay,
excuse me.
yeah,
So,
no, I just mean not one classroom, but one grade.
yeah, one grade.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve 1,800 for starting the carpet replacement cycle for GMS.
Second.
I'd like to amend that motion and increase that to $3,600.
Whoa, big spender.
Second.
I'm fine with that.
Amended motion by myself, second by Mr. Shoemaker. Look, I think there's an opportunity to fast track this a bit. And given the need, I think it's just time.
You know, are this and the next few things, something we could use at the trust fund for? It's not huge money, but it would allow some money to go back to the taxpayers.
I don't know. It's a good question, because I don't know if this fits the
don't
trust
think
fund. I'm gonna ask
that's
Julie to
right.
pull it up
Yeah,
here, the
exactly.
definition
It's
of it.
not a repair?
I don't know if the carpet is a repair because it's a classroom carpet, it's not the carpeting of the floor, right? So if you think of a classroom rug, where they're gonna
Okay,
be
so it's
more
like an
circle.
area rug kind of.
Yeah, it's a-
Right, exactly.
Yeah, the replacement room dividers. So that's in a special ed classroom and they're kind of making smaller workstations and they're, maybe that could, but,
Building maintenance and repair.
I don't, it's not a
It's
permanent
freestanding.
structure, so I don't know if it would qualify for that. Like if it was like if it was this carpeting here, yes, I think it could come out of that, but, and if it was a more permanent wall, like that was dividing that room, yes, I think it could come out of repairs, but these are,
This is furniture essentially.
yeah, more furniture oriented.
Especially in light of the budget, the default budget for next year, I think this is a good use of our end of the year funds to try and free up some money for next year for other necessary expenses that unfortunately we couldn't keep in there or that were not approved by the voters. So I feel good about the next few expenses coming out of here.
All right, motion by myself, that was seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0. The one and only very important item from Mr. Mitchell, the
That was his top
GMS
item, yeah.
replacement room divider for $2,400.
I really should put this in one form, I'm sorry, Dan.
I'm just gonna make a
Big
motion to
motion.
approve it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, this was his number one priority.
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. Shoemaker. Does it warrant any additional discussion?
No.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0.
Is he gonna burn the old one? Is it gonna be like a bonfire?
Look, that's, if you go back to the disposal policy, it's going right in the dumpster.
I was gonna say, maybe not a fire, just I think the fire department might have something on that, but maybe we can get an industrial wood chipper.
Nice.
All right, we have GMS classroom cabinets ×3 for $1,958.97.
This is similar where we had to reduce some of it. I think we reduced it down to one, because of the fall, so.
Again, having done joint loss and visited all the classrooms, they need the storage. There's so much, particularly at GMS, where they rotate through seasonal, things that they have to have the storage on hand. Otherwise, it just looks cluttered. And frankly, I think it's a safety hazard to trip over if it's not put away correctly. So, this to me is also a need, and it's part of the maintenance. So I'll make a motion to approve
$650 a cabinet?
$1,958.97, which is very specific for 3 GMS classroom cabinets.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Ames, second by Mr. Shoemaker. Additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, 5-0. Next up, LMS carpet for $9,056, installing new carpet in the LMS music room. Now
This is this type of carpet.
your comment is relevant.
So again, I think anything we can do to give as much money as possible back to the taxpayer, if we can use the other fund for, again, it's not a huge amount of money.
Yeah. I would say the next three would likely fall under that,
Agree.
trust fund if you wanted to utilize that.
So we'd have to have a hearing.
Yeah, you'd have to do a hearing, but we could do that, before the next board meeting, July 9th.
Or if we have a third meeting in July.
Or, no, because we still gotta post it out, 2 weeks in
Oh,
advance.
2 weeks.
I guess my only comment would be, big picture, we're talking about, if we look at the onsite insight report, we're targeting being able to pay for a roof on the high school, and that's all we're targeting for with what we're asking to put away, which is already a stretch. So I think we're so far behind on maintenance that I wonder if we're making a mistake to not try to capitalize on as many things, especially because we're constantly criticized for not maintaining things.
I think the other side of that coin is the fact that we're gonna have such a big underspend that we're gonna hear it about, that's a lot of money. You shouldn't spend it all. We have gotta give 200,000 back, and I can't keep track because some stuff is good now, but
Well, I think when we
we're
look at
probably 220,000 into this number.
We are, minus the panic doors, right? We are 171 and call it 30, 34. So yeah, we're 205-ish.
so that's still 300 going back, right? Or are we looking at
If we don't do anything else.
If we don't do anything else, then there's still some more here to talk about.
right? But I mean, I think targeting 200 back is a good number if it gets us through a lot of the maintenance stuff that we need to do.
200 was the budgeted amount, right?
Yeah.
That was gonna go back.
Yeah, I just think we're
I understand it
We're
from both
excited.
perspectives, but there are gonna be people who say, you know what, you
Oh, I
had
get it.
$800,000 left over, and
I
you
get it.
spent it all.
right. I get it, but they're also going to say
That-
you don't maintain the schools.
That 800,000 number, though, does not include what was warrant article, so you really have to only use the
Okay,
500,000.
the 590, whatever.
So if they wanna say, yes, you're spending down 300 of the 500,000, I would say yes, but I would also say, in part because we have a default budget next year, we are still giving back what we said we would, and honestly, my bigger concern is about the fluctuation. As we continue to give back large sums, that makes the tax rate fluctuate so much.
Which has been a big point of discussion this year.
Right, because it's, people can't, you get a little back, I'll be honest, people don't feel it when you give the little back. I mean, they complain about it, and I understand it completely, but it doesn't, you don't feel it as much on your taxes when that little bit comes back versus when there's a big difference between the tax rate increase for year over year, you feel that more, so, yeah.
I'm just mostly concerned about the fact that we're striving so hard to hit a roof replacement at CHS, but there's so many other things that we're not even.
We're not even
gonna
talking
be-
about a lot of that stuff yet, so.
Yeah.
I see both sides of it, I'm just thinking of the optics.
No, I agree.
Agree with that.
understood. And I think it's, like I said, I think it's a fair point. I think if we weren't gonna have that 200,000 to give back to the taxpayers, I would feel differently about how we're approaching this right now. But I do feel like that's the amount that we've said that we're going to give back, and I think if we stick to that, we are committing to that. And 300,000, honestly, given the long list of maintenance needs that our buildings need, I mean, it's probably not enough, to be honest, but it's the best we can do.
And I think the one item that is still a big unknown that we're going to need to find money for, and perhaps need to tap into that building account, is the issues at CHS, which we don't have a quote for yet. So I'd like to think about.
I think there's also, now, we talked about this last meeting, and, you know, working with Kevin Brown, like, doing something to that parking lot next year might tap into one of these funds too, like when the timing's right with that, because we're gonna try to align that with when he's doing some work to help.
Defray the cost.
Yeah, a little bit, you know, a little bit here and there. So we gotta be ready to move on that when it's an appropriate time, because that will save us money if we can align it with the work that he's doing and stuff, so.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve LMS carpet, LMS refinish gym floor, LMS refinish stage floor. The total between the three is $11,856.
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. Shoemaker. Additional discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Sorry, I was
Aye.
I was delayed.
That carries 4-1-0.
No, I was oh, did
He
you,
was one.
you were? I know.
Yeah,
Just making sure.
you're good.
All right.
Okay, next up is LMS cell phone cabinets. This has been kind of in the news recently too.
Yeah, I mean, like, this law is gonna pass.
It is gonna pass.
Right, like, and I don't oppose it. No, like, cell phones are a problem.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Yeah,
Everybody has a locker at school?
Yeah, the idea though is that they're carrying their
I mean,
phones.
Put it in
one,
your locker.
kids don't use their lockers, like,
Yeah, lockers aren't used anymore.
yeah.
It's weird. Since COVID, it's one
And
of
the
those things where they got
idea-
rid of using them since COVID, and they just carry their stuff around with them. Which,
The idea
Okay, the
for
cell
this-
phone still can go in the locker.
Yeah.
They have to
But I
learn
think
how to
that
use the
if the
locker.
law, it's gonna depend on how the law reads though. If the law reads that we have to secure them, then
I don't think the law is gonna go to that. I think the law is gonna be vague, but like.
great, just what we need.
No.
Another
Not
vague
necessarily
law.
a bad thing, because I think this is a tough thing to execute. Like, I think everyone agree, a vast majority of people agree that cell phones are harmful and distract from learning, right? But, and I think the idea behind this cabinet, Peter, to answer your question, is, and while we're doing this at the middle school and not the high school, is when the middle schoolers come in for first period or for homeroom, whatever the thing is, the teacher's gonna watch them put it into the cabinet. It's gonna be locked there, stayed. So it's not in a locker or a backpack where they could get access to it during the day or something like that. Like they're going to the bathroom, going to their locker real quick, undoing it.
which was
texting their
basically
buddy.
the highlight of the presentation was like that's what they're doing. They're leaving the classroom to go use their cell phones.
Yeah, so this gets them there, secure, like if they're fumbling around in lockers and breaking and everything, this is like a tighter kind of thing for that. This is just one possible way to, like, we haven't seen the final law, we don't know what the true expectations on the school is gonna be to enforce this ban, you know? There's other things, like yonder pouches are like gonna be the rage, they're significantly more expensive than this solution, but they're
Which is
also very,
wild to
very
me
effective.
because it's like a fabric pouch.
Yeah, but people are buying them left and right, so they can charge them. You know,
Rebranding.
that's
Yeah.
This is just like an idea. Like when we were creating this list, this is something, you know, could we try this out at the middle school? High school is going to be different because they're older, right? They're more likely to follow rules, if that makes any sense.
That's funny.
But, you know, I've seen at the high school.
Heard it right
level-
here.
Then
I should.
the
I
high
should
school
say.
senior is more likely to follow the rules than a fifth grade kid.
But the high school, like, I've seen at the high school level, the shoe thing, right? The shoe thing behind the door where kids put their phone in at the beginning of the period and then take it out. the high school kids seem to be more responsive and able to be trusted in that type of model, right? And with high school kids, if I can defend their cell phone use just slightly, they actually have slightly more need for it if they're picking up siblings, if they're working. They might have to actually check their phone during the day for various reasons and stuff like that.
So this is one cabinet?
No, this is
30
30
cabinets?
cabinets for all of LMS, so each room has their own cabinet.
So we would need something similar or something else, because the rule will apply at the high school level too.
But I think that's where you can trust the high school, because there's not, like, the law is not gonna be, they have to be locked up, per se.
No, but they can't have their, they can't, well, we don't know what the law says.
We don't know what
They
the law's
can't-
gonna say.
I don't think, I think it's bell, if they say bell to bell, it's gonna have to be put someplace
Put someplace, right?
and left there.
And left.
And-
But I think high schoolers can be a little more, this is where I say they can be expected to follow the rule a little bit more to like, hey, you're gonna put it in the shoe pouch over here. And like, you're gonna leave it, and then you can get it at the end of the period,
It's
right?
just more probably come large.
I don't know, the
I'm
law, I think
anxious
is
to see how it
fascinating.
goes,
Yeah, it's a fascinating law, and I think it comes from a really like honest, good place, and like, I'm not against it in any stretch of imagination, just the execution of it, like how we're going to like enforce it. I'm really curious how this is gonna go.
Well, and then we'll need a policy. for what
We will
happens
need a
when-
policy.
When you have your second phone, your burner phone in your pocket.
Cause that's gonna happen.
Absolutely is.
I'm not opposed to this. What the question mark I have is this the right solution to solve the problem?
That's a great question, and I don't think we know yet. The Yonder pouches work well from the districts who use it, but they are uber expensive.
Yeah.
So-
Like, they're so expensive.
$30 a pouch.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the right
And
solution.
what, you get one for each kid or
You
something?
get one for each kid, so the kid comes in, and it's like a magnet thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, so they put their pouch in the office or whoever your station is, they like do the magnet thing and it seals it, right? And then they can only get like a I don't know, like a store with clothes like that kind of magnetic thing. And the only way to get your phone back is at the end of the day, you have to go to someone who unseals it, and then you can get your phone back.
But if you want it in every class, now you're gonna have to, somebody's gonna have to stand there and unlock everybody's.
I think
At
we're
the
spending
beginning,
a
at the
lot
end
of
of the
time
day,
on
that's
this
gonna
idea,
have
and I
to
think we
happen.
should just hold off on this
So
until we know.
I was gonna suggest, what if we were to put aside, I would say if 55-25 is the more cheap solution and that's just one school, what if we were to put aside $7,500 to address cell phone use if the law passes? That way we're using end of the year money for it, but we can look into what other solutions are out there and investigate it a little more, because this is one quote for one solution. I don't know that this is the right one that we go with, and maybe somebody, another school says, hey, have you tried this? And that ends up being the better solution, and it's $6,000 for high school and middle school and whatnot. So I'm just curious, if we put end of the year money aside, and if it's $5,000, then so be it, but end of the year money aside for the purpose of addressing the likelihood of this law coming, but we don't necessarily come up with a specific solution until later in the summer.
Love that idea.
I like that idea too.
I like that idea.
What do you guys think is the right amount? Because I'll make the motion, but
Just do it 7,500 and we're just earmarking it.
okay. I'll make a motion to earmark 7,500 for the purpose of some type of cell phone storage or system if and when the new law passes in New Hampshire regarding students and cell phones in school.
Motion by Ms. Ames, second by Mr. Shoemaker. Additional discussion. And I like the fact that gives us a little flexibility in the event that we need some type of solution to address something at the high school.
Yeah.
At least, and on an immediate basis.
Yeah.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0. All right, we have a golf cart.
I mean, we're getting to lower priorities
Oh,
now.
I get to
Lower
drive it.
priorities.
I was gonna say, can I
Lower
borrow?
priorities.
keys.
Lower priorities. Yeah, so we went away from we had talked previously about a gator for athletics, but, we got the gator already for maintenance, and yes, they can coexist. But another set of wheels that we could use for athletics and others, such as a golf course. This is the adjusted proposal here. And it would be an electric golf cart.
So the Gator was quoted closer to 20,000?
Yeah.
Holy
That's a
mother
huge
of
jump, isn't it,
pearls.
from when we
Way
got
up.
it?
Yeah.
It's a nice gator, though.
not my area of expertise, but yes, sounds great.
What about a mule?
I mean,
What date is the meeting?
I'm not saying this, maybe this is gonna help or not help your decision. If we do get the golf cart, I will probably at least once drive it around to each school, like from Campbell, just cause, like in the roads, just.
For no
to
other
see how-
reason, that would be really
Are you
entertaining
gonna bring
to
your radio?
watch.
Yeah,
Gonna need
great.
it.
It should work. Like, I think we'd be in range.
Gonna
So.
die halfway down Hillcrest.
But he can plug it in an LMS.
I was gonna say, is this gonna be charged at LMS?
Solar.
Not yet, he can't.
I was gonna make the solar joke.
No, the grid's online.
Oh, okay, but the storage isn't there.
Yeah, the storage isn't there, yeah.
I was gonna say, if a golf cart can last through 5 hours on a golf course, I'm sure it can drive, between the 3 schools.
I don't know about this one.
Yeah, I don't know about this one either.
What's the board's thoughts?
I think it's-
I'm on the edge. I'm on the fence on this one because again, I do see the need for athletics when we host things to have something available if there's an injury or another circumstance. I mean, I think it's more than just an injury too. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, we had 2 golf carts up at Bow, for mainly athletics, but anyone could use them, right? And they got heavy use every single day as people are driving around to all the different events. I mean, athletics is the most prominent because if the AD's keeping track of this baseball game over here and then softball over there and then lacrosse. Now, the campus at Campbell is a little bit more centered, right? Like
Yeah.
than the campus at Bow and stuff, just as a comparison's sake.
But softball plays at Dara,
So-
right?
Yeah, so
The one
like
that-
that's like kind of where part
CHS
of that
plays
comes
at
from.
CHS softball.
CHS
I think
softball
doesn't
plays
CHS softball play
at Dara, I thought.
plays in the back corner?
No, they have their own field at CHS.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do in the back.
Oh,
It's kind of
okay.
on the back
It's like
side
by
of
the
the football
lacrosse
field.
Never seen it,
downtown,
yeah.
right? Like
That's Dara Pond, that's where the,
Oh, great.
a lot of the.
So is the gator that we have, do we have,
That's on the
Dara
left,
is,
right?
it's the one over.
Okay.
come out of Campbell, take a right?
Yeah,
It's the
yeah,
first
okay.
right, that's Dara.
so do we have one
Football team
gator right
plays
now?
there.
We have
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
and it's
And
used by
it's
maintenance.
It's used by maintenance. I think that was the only thing that stuck out to me was that maintenance is trying to use it, and so if athletics is using it, maintenance can't be using it at the time. I'm just more so like my concern is just making sure that our maintenance can efficiently work.
But we have 2 gators.
We have 2?
We still have 2 gators.
Oh, okay. I thought we only had 1.
One's old, right?
One's old, but it's still in use.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember Coach K riding around the grounds back in the day.
All right, I'm probably not a yes on this one
Yeah.
this year.
That if we have 2, I thought we only had 1.
All right. I'm not a yes either on this one.
It's fine. I'm gonna delete.
Okay. That one drops. Discovery Education subscription for 4,000.
Yeah, I just want to kind of. This is still.
This was up in the air, right?
This is still up in the air.
could get
Yeah, we
funding
Been
haven't.
for a long time.
We haven't gotten clarity yet if the DOE is going to continue to cover this or not, and we're getting to the end of the year, so we have budgeted for it, but we couldn't keep it in the default, so we kind of left it here for discussion point. We have a new commissioner, so maybe this is going to stay. It's been an effective tool for a number of schools. They seem to be a very strong partner for education in the state, so if you had to ask me from an optimism standpoint, I would say the DOE's probably gonna work out a deal.
Can we make it contingent? Can we approve it?
Yeah, I just don't know when that domino's gonna fall.
So do we have a new commissioner yet? I thought
We
Edelbert
do.
was staying.
Or she's gotta be approved by the executive council, but the nominee's going for it.
Can we do it as a backup, meaning that if it's not covered, then we earmark the 4,000 for? I mean, I guess my question is,
We use it.
is it a tool that
Yes.
is used enough
It
that
is
it
used
is worth
widely.
the expense for us to pay for if it is not something that is gonna be covered by the
It
state?
is definitely used
I just
widely.
don't know when that domino's gonna fall. Like just from a practical standpoint, usually when you encumber this type of stuff, right, you're gonna do it in the summer, like in that window before school starts up. And if this lingers into next school year, we could be carrying this encumbrance for months and months, right? Without a resolution to it, which we can do, but I just want, it's not, repairs, right? We're gonna do the repair this summer, right? That's the point of it, right? And get it done. This, I have no idea the time frame. Just in complete transparency.
So if we encumber this money and then the DOE says they're gonna pay for it,
We don't,
even if we have to pay, I guess even if we have to pay for it in August, and in September they say they could possibly reimburse us, right?
Possibly, I'm not 100% sure how that's gonna
Right,
work.
so that's the domino that we're.
Yeah, that's, we're not sure.
I don't know about this one. I mean, I don't we have Discovery money budgeted in our budget?
We did in the proposed,
did.
but it's not in the default.
We didn't have it the year
Use it in the
before?
default. No, because we never had to pay
Pay
for
for it.
Discovery.
Discovery
Right, we
has been-
budgeted for it as a contingency if we didn't get it.
Got it.
Contract agreed, but when we went to the default, you have to remove that contingency for it, so. So it's like this weird place,
I think if we're using the service enough that it's something that you're telling me as curriculum director is a need, then I think that we should have the money earmarked to cover it if the state does not. And if the state does cover it, then that money would go back to the taxpayers in the next fiscal year,
In a
correct?
perfect world, yes.
Right, it
Just
would
like
be-
the timing of it, I'm just not certain of when that will occur.
Is it something that we can just pay for it? If we get reimbursement, we get reimbursement? Is that how that?
I think we'd have to get clarity, right? Like if we were to buy it now, because like some subscriptions, we're obviously renewing stuff as soon as the fiscal year starts, right? So July 1st, something like, what's the one we just signed the contract on that we have? The classes. No, well, that's an example too, right? Ingenuity, any of these digital services, right? You just do your renewal service, it's in the budget, you go. We can renew this service, but we're gonna have to pay for it now. Now, if the state agrees to it, I would hope they would reimburse us, right? But I don't know if that's a guarantee, but again, I would be hopeful that they would.
I'm just saying, if it's a service that we rely upon and use, it should be a budgeted service that we pay for.
Yep.
And then if it's a service that is valued by the state and we can have offsetting revenue then that's how it should be accounted for.
I would think so, yeah. Yeah, but I just don't know 100%.
You'd like to think the state doesn't say, oh, you already paid for it, we're not gonna give you that money.
Yeah, I mean.
But it should be,
that's-
but my point is, it should be a budgeted line item anyways, and it shouldn't be just, oh, we should wait and see if we get reimbursement for it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Fine, let's do it.
Yep.
Again, if we're being told it's a need, a tool that we use.
The teachers really started to use it. They use it, they do discovery, science, writing. They were really liking it a lot.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Ms. Ames, additional discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0. And again, if there's an opportunity to
No.
Yeah.
get it done.
Yep.
do it. All right, we'll do the next three together, if that's okay. We have GMS desks and chairs, LMS classroom tables, and LMS classroom chairs. The three of them together are for a total of $13,064.
These were in the budget for the fall and then had to be.
And we reduced sections of it, yeah. So the desk and chairs for GMS, we had 2 classes in. So 44 total. We reduced it to default to 1. So this is to make up that difference there to get to the second set. And then similar for the tables and chairs for LMS, where we reduced it, but then,
Because we were on a cycle, right? That we were doing
Yes.
so many a year.
I don't have access anymore.
Which
Yeah,
one?
it says that I don't have access to the quote.
Which one? I can
All
fix it.
three of
All
them.
three of them now. Is this starting to
No, I don't
have
have
that
it anymore either.
relationship with that supplier that we talked about?
Mhm. John Lear, he was our guy in Bow too. He's everyone's guy.
He's the chair guy.
He is the chair guy from Virgo. Let me get those ones back up. Wait, if I do. Sorry, it's gonna take me a couple seconds to get the quote up.
I'll share a funny story that Jen told me while you guys were talking about the Yonder pouches. A student in another district bought the magnet that can open the pouches and was selling it for $1
Yeah.
to
There you go.
open
Entrepreneur.
people's.
That's funny.
I I said that. I was like, how entrepreneurial.
Business, yeah.
That's what you write your college essay on.
I was gonna say, sixth grade
Harvard
entrepreneur
Business,
day.
straight, skip undergrad,
Have a
straight to
magnet.
Harvard Business School.
I'll
an
make a motion
entrepreneur.
to approve $13,064 for desks and chairs at GMS and LMS.
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. Shoemaker. All those in
that time.
favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0. Last but not least, at least at the moment, is CHS hallway painting.
Yes, this has just been an annoyance of lots of people at CHS that the first floor is not the same color. So this is on an estimate of labor but it would be our own labor, but we're obviously not doing other things if they're painting the hallways. And then about 100 gallons worth of paint to do the entire first floor and the stairwells associated with it at about $50 per paint can.
Do we have like paint is one of those things that should be on a cycle, right? Like we should be cycling
It
through.
should be,
$1,000.
yeah.
And
Like
so
we have a
have
small
we-
amount every year that's in it
Each
for a
school.
lot of it touch-ups and like maybe a couple of classrooms. This would be an attempt to it's the last thing on our list because it's,
Because
No,
it
I
should be
get
the
it. I
last
guess
thing on
what
the
it's the
my-
list.
last thing on the
I
list.
guess what my question though is like, I don't love the qualification that it's to make them all one color. I think if the qualification was
Yeah.
we need to be on a cycle to just keep things up, fresh, then that makes more sense to me. But
Well, yeah, so
if someone's twitching because of two colors, I mean,
I guess I'm not
I'm
necessarily.
with you, Matt. Unless it really needs to be painted, doesn't matter what color it is.
Yeah, so with that, I agree with that, but $1,000 isn't gonna cover, like, the first floor main hallway needs to get painted.
where are you getting $1,000?
$8,000.
It's $8,000.
Right, no, but that's the whole first floor hallway. I'm just saying, if you took that main hallway, cause enough dings and dents and all that other stuff needs to get painted, yearly budget of $1,000 isn't gonna cover it.
No, I get that. That's why I'm saying, is this, like, if this is something where we say, okay, and this marks the beginning of our cycle of, we gotta do however much each.
I think two things. One, we put it last on the list because it's last on the list, right? Like this isn't like something we have to have. It is something that when you're in that building every single day drives you nuts, right? And lots of people. But the hallways are fine, right? We do need to develop a legitimate, for lots of things, paint included, legitimate cycles that we stick to, that we systematically work our way around these buildings to do things such as painting, right? Where we're gonna paint, this set of the first floor and these rooms associated with them. And then the next summer, you're gonna do this set of the building, these floors associated with it, so on and so forth. We don't have that in a lot of aspects in this district of those type of, we'll just call them maintenance plans, like Joe's kind of like just stay on top of it plans. And
Triage at this point.
yeah, and it's just like what has to get done, and that's what gets done, right? So we do need to develop those plans. This is last on the list to give you an idea of like what the first floor would do. Like I understand if you vote it down, it's fine. I wanted to be transparent that like what we hear all the time is like these are two different colors, right? Like,
Yeah, no, I get that.
and Yep.
I
I
think
come back to the chairs. I see more of a purpose for the folding chairs than I do for
agreed.
painting. So, and those were about the same price. So, to me, we didn't vote on the chairs. We kind of pushed it down and tabled that one. I mean, I guess I can't get on board with painting, but I might be able to get on board with chairs.
I'm gonna call and vote on the painting. It drives me nuts too. I'll make a motion to approve the $30,000. Who's with me?
Oh boy, you got to win.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. DeWitt.
Are you actually going to vote in favor of this?
Totally, it's OCD, man. It's nuts. It is legit two different colors, and it's
All
like
right.
somebody
I mean-
just didn't want to stand on the ladder.
that is exactly why it's not.
Can we? Okay, but
So,
these have not been
Someone
painted?
stand on the ladder.
Is it safe to assume this hallway has not been painted ever, other than touch up?
I'm sure it's been touched up, but like I can't imagine that someone left that, right? Like that was probably I don't know. Is that the
They were-
original paint job?
I noticed it was two different colors.
Oh, it's
Oh, now you're gonna notice.
No, I've never
What I
did not
heard-
notice.
No, what I heard was
'Cause you're
that
from
they,
Southie.
that the company that did the painting, whoever painted it, they didn't want them to get on a ladder, which I don't understand. Why
Patron
are we?
doesn't get on a ladder.
That's what you get for bottom basement
Primex
pricing.
rules the world, yeah, but
Is can we, if I could get behind this if this marks the start of a routine, right? Like if we are going to,
well, then we need
The
to have a plan.
superintendent's gonna commit to putting together a routine and a maintenance plan and come to us every year with some type of painting proposal.
okay, fine.
Here we go.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Sorry, I can't do it. And I'm pretty anal too.
Abstained? I think that carries 3-2.
Does carry 3-2.
I will say that
Only from
that,
maintenance-
that maintenance plan and that maintenance cycle would be a perfect subject for the FIC.
It'd be a great second. It'd be great. That's what I want to talk about in those meetings.
Are we going back to the
So we're gonna go back to chairs, yes.
What's our
So the
total?
just to refresh my memory on the chairs, we are bringing those between schools.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Because no school
Well,
has
not
enough
bolded.
for all of their
that
end of the year
far?
event. We'll just use end of the year events, because there's
16.
other ones.
Oh,
like not
like
refreshed
using end of the year
here, yeah.
events.
Oh, no.
No school
Mine's
has
16,
enough
yeah.
just for
16?
theirs.
Yep, here, yeah.
So we share chairs. Now that share, sure, but you know, Dave and Joe and whoever else is helping them have to load all those chairs up in the truck, drive them to
That's
the
my, I
schools,
mean, that's
so
my
on and so
concern with
forth.
this, is that
Yep.
we're wasting time.
We're wasting time and potentially damaging
I was gonna say,
things.
it's damage,
It's
wear
the
and tear.
damage to these things when they are being moved around between, you know, at one point we were told as a PTO to stop moving the kitchen, the tables, the
Cafeteria
dining
tables?
tables back and forth to the gym because it was doing too much damage from just rolling them down from closing them up, rolling them down the hallway and back. I could see the same thing happening even with plastic or folding chairs, you know? I guess my question is this something that can wait until next year?
I mean, anything can wait. Like, we're doing it now,
And
right?
how much, I know the PTO, to your point, funded some replacement.
Yeah.
What did they fund? How much, like,
They bought a whole I don't know the number, I'd have to check with Dan, but I know they bought at GMS a whole bunch of these black folding chairs, maybe 200. Like, don't quote me on that number, but they bought a whole bunch of them for
so
GMS.
why do we need more?
Because this will give, my understanding is it gives everyone enough for their event to have all the chairs, right?
But what you're thinking is GMS wouldn't need the chairs, they've got 200 chairs.
Correct.
But they need more than
But they
200
have
chairs.
440 something
Yeah.
students.
So they need like,
But when do they ever set up 400 chairs at
I don't know,
GMS?
that's a good question.
All the kids sit on the floor.
That is true.
how many did they have set up for fourth
I
grade?
can, I mean, if we want to not do this right now, that's fine. And we can get some more answers, because this was a late add to like
Yeah.
last week as we were watching all this stuff unfold, right?
Yeah.
So we can think about this a little bit more, and either in the budget process or, you know, next June,
I'm
come
not
to
opposed
you.
to it, but I also don't want us to have another meeting next week just for the purpose of folding chairs.
That's what I mean. We can,
So,
look, we can hold off,
Just
right?
saying.
And then maybe like as we're talking about this publicly, the PTO was so generous to help us this year with this. You know, if anyone's looking for something that would be a generous help for us next year, maybe this is
Being
something.
very well connected to PTO. Full disclosure, right? I know LMS PTO is not as well funded as
Yeah.
GMS PTO, so I don't know that there will be an appetite
Right,
for that.
and maybe it's not PTO, right? Like as we look at other things, this
And
could be an
anything else,
avenue
right.
for fundraising that we could do to kind of take care of this through different groups and stuff like that. So, but we wanted to put some of this stuff out here as like, hey, we noticed this. We didn't put this out here, but I'm gonna like float it maybe for a year from now. The ramps to the staging, all of the staging and the ramps for, you know, the CHS graduation, they're all original, which means those things are 25 years old. They're not gonna last forever either. You know, they're fine for now. But- No, the staging for, like, you picture CHS graduation, like that red
Oh, okay,
stage and
this-
the ramps
okay, I'm with
going
you.
up.
I'm thinking in the,
Yeah,
Auditorium.
that, no, not the auditorium, well, that's a whole other conversation, but for that, like, those are 25 years old, and they're okay, but they're not gonna last another 25 years, right? Like, so that is something down the road we may wanna look at.
Talk to me in 20.
after the roof is done.
like I said, I don't want to have another meeting next week just for chairs, but I am going to throw out this thought, and I'm just putting it out there, I'm not gonna count, but I would say 90% of these asks and approvals were for GMS and LMS. I don't see many beyond the hallway painting and the camera installation for CHS. And I say that only because my understanding is that the auditorium still is in need of additional work and is still in need of some updates there and maintenance needs. And so my question would be, maybe speaking with the new principal and or other people there, are there needs we're missing from CHS here? Because we did just do a lot for GMS and LMS.
I think it's a fair question, and I think there are, let's talk about the auditorium as an example. There is stuff that needs to be done in that auditorium, and we have some ideas through various people, but that's big money that we need a real good plan about, right? Like, and I think that is something with the new principal and with our performing arts
Yep.
people, that we work on that and develop a real plan
Okay.
for, because.
Didn't we do a lot last year for the auditorium?
You did some.
We
like
did
with
some, but
sound
Friends
stuff
of
and-
Performing Arts did a lot themselves. Like, they took the sales ticket money from the Wizard of Oz and from the productions that they did, and they put a lot back into
But
it.
if
have
you
an
look
email
at
from
just
this
off the top of my head, the lighting's okay in there. But some of the chair refurbishing that you're gonna need to do there, some of the carpet refurbishing that you're gonna need to do there, those are gonna be pretty big ticket items, you know, that you want probably a multi-year plan to kind of tackle all that type of stuff.
And again, I'm not trying to create issues or whatnot. I just sitting here looking at this going, that's an awful lot of GMS and LMS stuff, and maybe that's where the need is this year. And I'm okay with that, but
I think
I would be
that-
surprised if there wasn't some of those.
You know, I think
Needs there.
to tie back to an earlier agenda item, we are trying to focus on that hallway from a facility standpoint this summer and like make a better use of that space. So I think from like a facility standpoint at CHS, that's like, kind of where our focus is a little bit right now. Just because we got all those new equipment from Courier, or, donated equipment from Courier and stuff like that, and those rooms need to be efficiently used. So I think that's where some of the energy is, and I think also, just to be frank, it's the reality of having that transition in that building, right? Like,
That's
what
I think. Yeah.
Jake's a great guy, but he's not gonna lose breath over, a place he's not
Right.
gonna be in next year, and the principal's not here yet, really, to dig into it, so.
That's why I just didn't want to miss the opportunity to at least see if there was a need at CHS for a thing or two. And if not, then fine, then we recognize the fact that this year, our end of year funds were more focused on GMS and LMS, and hopefully next year, CHS will be able to have a longer list or a higher priority on certain things.
Well, we still don't know what the cracks are gonna cost, right? So,
That's fun.
Right.
Here you go, high school students, we'll fix your
I'm gonna delete folding chairs here, is that okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So do we have a total?
We got it, the total on this
Sixty-eight,
form
is
accounts
this
for
one?
all of that for the panic door, so we'll have to
This
adjust
still says 68.
for that.
Yeah, so we have
What
to
will
adjust
likely
that.
be a cheaper,
And
It'll be a
I've
little
added
less than
everything
that.
onto the other sheet.
yeah, so is the other sheet accurate?
Yes.
I'm good with that.
So 215,
Except I need-
729, plus the 32 for the doors.
Yep.
Ish.
Okay, I was gonna say the 284 number just as a wash for the cracks in the building as a placeholder.
Yeah, and we might not get that in
Right.
time for any of this, just to be
Yep.
completely transparent.
But cracks in the building, that would be something that we could use building and repairs
Yep.
if we had to.
Yeah,
So with the $32,000, thank you for adding that placeholder, it's 247, 729.
I feel good about that number.
Okay.
That's an additional 50-ish.
To the town, it splits
Back
the
to the
difference.
town.
Yeah.
There's
The-
500,000 left, roughly 250.
The other item I just want to make sure we talk about, because I know it will come up on the budget committee, is the field liner.
yeah,
So let's have a quick conversation about this, because the field liner was an encumbrance last year.
Yep.
We're in a default budget this year, right? It's not in the operating budget. How are we covering the cost for the field liner this year?
well, we've already had some savings in our, budget from ESY and stuff like that. right? So we have our budget expenses for ESY staffing, for ESY everything, right? Transportation, stuff like that. So we have some known quantities. If you give me a second, I can pull up it specifically.
We are also saving money on paint,
Maintenance
right?
Yes.
And there's all sorts of factors
and labor
here, right?
and
Right.
all the other things, yeah.
But there's a
But you're right,
There's a
it
question on the contract, right? Because it's not in our operating budget. What do we need to specifically make another encumbrance
Ah.
to enter into or continue the contract with the field liner tonight?
Good question.
So in terms of whether we have money or not, like we've been able to and I'm gonna use ESY as an example. What we have budgeted for salary for ESY services, we have saved about $15,000, and this is encompassing benefits, salaries, all that good stuff, from what we actually are gonna end up using this summer for ESY. So for example, that's $15,000 we can apply to other things, because that was something that those services are in the default because they're protected from the IEPs, right? So the amount we budgeted in the default budget for that, we keep that amount. Now the reality cost is coming in, like think about a teacher, right? You budget for your teacher at $100,000 benefits and salary and stuff like that. But you hire a new teacher that's going to cost you $80,000. You get those savings even though in the default you use that $100,000 calculation, right? So we budget ESY at the time for the default based upon the IEPs we had at that moment, right, and the coverages that we need. We've now arrived at ESY for one reason or another. We don't need as many people. Some of it might be kids came on and off IEPs. Some of it might be like the parents opted out of ESY because parents can do that, right? There's reasons why kids don't end up doing ESY. So from that reduction stuff with salaries, we're gonna save about $15,000. So we could apply that savings for something such as the robot liner. So that's how we could pay for it if we wanted to continue on with that. Now the contract, Julie looked into it, and correct me if I'm wrong, you can opt out of it after a year if you want. Now we gotta return the robot and everything associated with it. But you have that ability to opt out of it after this first year if you want it.
I'd like to make it clean, and I'm just gonna make a motion to continue or to renew or continue with the field liner tonight.
I'm gonna second that.
All right, motion by myself, second by Mr. Shoemaker. Additional discussion?
I think that I think it's very useful to be able to reassign our resources to other things besides striping the fields, particularly when we have so much maintenance that needs to get done. I think my understanding is it's worked very well this year. It's alleviated the workload, and having gone through the challenges we had with hiring custodial staff and maintenance staff, I think we're finally trending in the right direction where we're staffed and people are starting to be able to get things done. I think it's really important to keep something that increases efficiency on board.
I've had the opportunity to talk to the custodial staff who use the robot, and they've spoken quite highly of this. And now that it's programmed and kind of dialed into the fields, it's really just set it and forget it, right? It does its thing, and they, to your point, are able to focus on other aspects of their day job. So,
Not to
Can we
mention they're
quantify
turning.
the savings in any way? For the friends
Probably.
of the budget committee?
We could try, yeah.
I mean, labor hours and paint.
Yeah, we'll try and come up with something. Be an estimate, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Well, I think
how long does it take to stripe a field?
That's what, I mean, with those savings we
Right.
can do, right?
Yeah.
Or that math we can
The
do.
labor cost. you
I
can
think
save
the
on
labor,
material costs.
cause now, like take, Dave or Chapel or Joe, for example, they're being attentive to smaller needs in the building that could linger from time to time. So quantifying that in a number might be a little bit challenging, but I'm hoping, but we can try and figure out maybe some examples of that, what they're using with their time, as like, hey, when they weren't on here, now Dave's doing this, right? Yeah.
well, I mean,
Doing ideally other more important things that affect the overall.
a perfect example though is like when we were doing and this hasn't gotten done, so it's not the perfect example, but one thing that they simply don't have time for is people were critiquing the portables and how disgusting they looked on the outside because we don't power wash them. But like they just don't have the time. So there's plenty of other maintenance that we can't have a robot do that they could be doing. So
I mean, I think we can even take a broad stroke to the ROI on it, right? If we just quantify last year how many hours it took to paint a field, how many times it was done, and with how many gallons of paint versus the cost of the contract. Right, because then we can almost take, hey, that's hours and the salary, we're already paying somebody, but now they can go do other stuff.
Right. All right, anything else on encumbrances this evening?
Did we vote on the robot?
no, we
I
didn't.
wouldn't vote, yep.
We had a motion, we had
Oh,
a second.
Sorry, motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0. Audit questionnaire.
Yes. So I did email this to everyone, but I'm going to pass this. Would you like this, Andrew?
Sure.
So every year as part of the audit process, there's a questionnaire. There's actually several questionnaires, but one of them needs to be completed by the school board. So we have that on the agenda for you to complete that for us, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, I'll complete it tonight.
Thank you.
Yep. Did everyone have a chance to review the questionnaire that was sent? Any issues with me filling it in tonight? Back?
I've been through it, I have no issues with you filling it out.
Thank you. Ropes course, I know we've already spoken about
Yeah,
it.
we kind of, oh, sorry, sure.
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to update, that we did, formally notify the Recreation Commission, of our decision to dismantle the course, and that we're gonna work with them regarding, scheduling of that, so that it doesn't interrupt any of their programming, so.
Any responses?
No responses. And we are looking to hopefully do that in early July, start the process of dismantling. We'll see.
Starting soon then.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's all I had.
Thank you very much for the update. I will be sharing the updates from tonight with the budget committee. I know they've been kind of keen to understand end of year encumbrances and where we stand with end of year, so I'll be sharing tonight's update with them.
Good.
The curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Turn it over to Dr. Taylor.
All right. Sorry. So just really quick update on our grant status. We got our Title I allocations, and I was really excited to see that we got about 20,000 more than we had last year, and that was because the Title I team, we really worked hard to spend down that grant, and they did an awesome job at doing that. So they always look at how you spend your money, and if you're using it, then that's good. If you're not, then they're like, oh, then you don't need as much, and they cut it. So that was nice. And we got our Title IV allocations as well, which were about the same as this past year, and we're still waiting on Title II. The consolidated app is due on July 1, so kind of sweating right now because IDEA and our 3 ESSA grants are tied into this consolidated app that's due July 1, and they said Title II should be out soon. What that means, I don't know. So we're preparing everything so that everything is pretty much ready for when those Title II allocations come out. One of the things with the Title I allocations this year, we, as you guys know, we share Title I and Title II and Title IV with St. Francis because they are a private school in our town that has Litchfield students. So, and our tutors go over and service those students, and they have been having to truck materials back and forth between GMS and St. Francis, and it was becoming very inefficient. So a way to solve that was to purchase a cabinet that will be stored at St. Francis and house our materials. It's a shared cabinet, so we used St. Francis allocation for that, but we had to purchase part of it with district funds as well, because their allocation couldn't cover the whole amount of the cabinet, but it is a shared space and it is still owned by Title I federal funds because it was purchased mostly with Title I funds. We just wanted to let you know that some district funds did go to the purchase of that cabinet, but it is to house materials that is for Litchfield students. Any questions on anything, Grants? Okay. Just wanted to let you guys know, CIA update, the year has ended, but we're still moving and grooving. Monday I did a whole day training with K2 staff and special ed for our YouFly Foundations program that we're implementing next year. This was the fourth training I did. I did one in March for 3 hours. I did 2 staff meetings and then this one. So it went really well. Everybody is really getting a good handle on the program and how to implement it, which is nice. Yesterday and today we did math and ELA vertical alignment. So I had about 16 teachers on Monday or on Tuesday and about 12 today doing math and ELA. They did a lot of brain work. Thank you all. I know some of you are watching right now for that hard work. And then tomorrow and Monday I have science and social studies coming in, which will be really nice to do work with that group. So that's some things that we're still doing as we move into the summer months. And then I just wanted to bring back, we said we would talk about the digital learning specialist position and changing who that position reports to and who does the evaluation. Because as we're auditing things and looking at how things go this last year, it makes sense that that position falls under the curriculum director as a person to evaluate and work with more. It does not mean that this person will not be working with technology. We're all working together because a lot of our curricular materials are online. They're tech. So we have plans to all meet together monthly and do things. So I did want to bring that back up to see how the board felt about the changes made in the job description.
So is the big change who they report to?
Yes, that was really the bulk of the changes, and we added the word curriculum in some areas because it just because it's really what is happening now.
I am personally fine with it. I think my understanding from our last discussion, that was always my understanding of what the purpose of the position was. And so I think it just makes sense. And quite frankly, I think that you guys are doing a great job. And if you tell me that that's what makes sense, then I'm going to trust you until you give me a reason not to. So.
Well, thank you.
I would think, were they reporting to IT or something?
Yes.
Okay. I think I'm good with the change.
Same.
Makes sense to me.
Yep, I'm good with the explanation.
Do we need a vote on the
You need a vote
change
because
to
it's
job
changing the
description?
job description.
I'll make a motion to approve the job description update for
Second.
digital learning specialist.
Sorry, premature second, but second.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. Shoemaker. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Thank you for participating.
All right, thank you.
Next up is public minutes from June 4th, 2025. Everyone have an opportunity to review the minutes.
I did, but I'm non-voting.
I'll make a motion to approve the June 4th public minutes.
Second. Oh, you get it. Take it. over seconding today.
High demand second tonight.
I'm breaking all sorts of grounds.
Motion by Ms. Ames, second by Mr. DeWitt. Additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained,
Abstain.
401. Moving into new business, we have international students.
Yep, so we have an application for an international exchange student next year at Campbell High School. The board needs to approve, if you're comfortable having an exchange student. So the first link is just the policy explaining that, and the second link is the application for the student. I reviewed the application. It's a standard exchange student application. It's a J1 visa, which means you can waive tuition for it, which is tradition in schools to waive tuition for J1s. If there was a different type of visa, you could charge tuition, but with these exchange programs, usually tuition is waived. So it is your will. So I asked if you can approve this exchange student for Campbell High School next year.
Make a motion to approve the, international student to attend Campbell High School.
Second.
And I would include tuition free. I
Yeah,
don't know if it
just
needs to
follow
be
the
separate
policy.
motions,
I
but,
think it'd be the same if you want to
okay,
include it.
just following policy.
Yep.
When's the last time we had an exchange student?
I think
Campbell?
we had one start and it didn't last very long at the beginning of last year, if I remember correctly.
Do we know if she can teach Spanish?
Probably.
Great idea, guys. We're gonna take all exchange students.
I was gonna say, does that change the
It's a
visa type?
long application, though.
It's a long application, yeah.
Yeah.
It's EF, they are like the program, so they have a very involved application.
Okay, additional discussion on exchange student. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. This is exciting.
That is exciting.
It'd be good for the students to have.
Absolutely.
All right, next thing, stipends versus service providers. I don't know how else to describe this. So we have, I'm gonna use audiovisual as the example here and a link to a tentative proposal, but that might be even a stretch. So we rent out our facilities, right? We redid that policy earlier this year, and we charge people for AV use, right? Like the lights and the microphones, yada, yada. We charge it $35 an hour, minimum of 4 hours for use of this stuff. We have groups come in, they don't always have people to run the soundboard, the lights, and these type of things, so we need people to do that. So, we have no mechanism to do that here, right? So we need some sort of mechanism. Now, some schools, this is true at my 2 previous schools, they had some sort of AV supervisor or someone who got some sort of stipend to be in this role, and they would be the person you would tap to do these type of events, right? They would come in, you would either pay them by specific events, right, a set fee. For example, if we're charging $35, this is just for AV, not all of the use of it, but specifically AV, you might turn around and pay out to this person who's doing the event $25 an hour, and you're keeping the additional 10 for the electricity that's being run for these type of things to offset that cost. So, but we don't have anything here, so I would like to develop something here. Now, we can establish an AV supervisor and do some stipend. Again, a stipend can be for the year. I've seen both models where it's a set amount for the year and they do all events that come under the roof. That's more for a bigger organization where you're going to constantly have stuff in. Or you can just say this is your person and you pay them on an event by event use. You set your pay rate at X amount of money and then you hire these people. The other thing we could do is just literally hire people on an event by event basis. It's a little bit riskier because you're just grabbing whoever you can grab on these type of things, and that would be like a service provider, and that could just be a little bit dicier because you're just having more people touch your stuff, you know, and more likely than that. So what linked here is kind of, we don't necessarily have to have a decision on all of this tonight, but it's something I want to put on your radar, that we maybe want to start establishing some sort of how and who we're hiring to do these type of services for us, whether it's a singular person, a small team of people. You know, again, I'll use Bo for an example. We had an AP supervisor. they work with some kids to help them learn. I'm kind of similar.
Kinda like we do here.
Right?
That's what I'm, yeah.
And like, yeah, and so those kids work it into, and everything's kind of sorted out that way. So, do you have an appetite for this? Is there like a dollar amount you're like loving, not loving? Now, we have to go through a W-9 process for like, if we're gonna pay out for this, right, and it's kind of on a case-by-case basis, we would need to do kind of like with a coach, where a coach fills out a W-9 for us, and we're paying out from our budget this amount to like this person providing this service for us that's just running our AV system for an event or something like that. And that is a model that we can do, but that will come out of, you'll see it in the manifest and those type of things as well.
How many events do we do that are not directly
We don't,
town
but we
related?
but it could be an avenue to do more, right? Like, we have this dance committee group coming in, they wanna use our auditorium, they came in last year, coming back this year to use the lights and the soundboard, and they wanna use all this stuff. And again, we don't want their people necessarily touching all of our stuff, we want our people
Right.
running the stuff, right?
Touch my stuff.
Yeah, so, 'cause if it breaks, and we're paying for it, right? You know, so we want people we trust to run the systems and everything like that. Do you have any opinion on this?
Why
You might-
now?
Because we have people trying to rent our space. Like, so, this dance group wants to come in, and we're gonna make it work right now, like they're coming in next weekend or 2 weekends.
They're coming this week, Friday.
Yeah, so we have this
Friday,
worked
Saturday.
out, we got people coming in to take care of it. But we should start establishing like an actual thing, because we talked about redoing this policy in the fall, I wanna say way back. We're gonna get rich off of this, but this is a revenue stream that we could start tapping into a little bit, hosting.
How much are we charging for the rental of the space?
Depends on the type of space. Sometimes it's a couple $100 depending what it is, a couple of thousand if they're using multiple spaces. Like, the dance group is gonna use the auditorium, AV services, and music rooms, the room area. So, I mean, I forget exactly how much it is, but we're making a few $1,000s on it.
We saw something while you were here about this, right, with what the rates were gonna be for
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
public
I feel
use.
like we did something with food,
Food is, we can cater out on
with
food and stuff like
catering
that.
and stuff.
We
when
talked about that, where we were gonna
about last.
pay out, that was in negotiations.
That was in
Yes,
negotiations,
that
okay.
if they're
Like, I
bringing
feel
in
like
our
we talked
people
about it in
to
the-
provide the catering of it,
Right.
then we're gonna pay them, I forget the dollar amount, 25 pops in my head, but don't quote me on that 100%, so.
I don't have any objections or
don't
strong
either.
opinions against or for it. I think it could be a good income stream. I would wanna make sure that we think through the policies for it, and I'd wanna make sure that we're clear in distinguishing what events are considered to be in-house versus, you know, if a PTO puts on a breakfast, that's not necessarily, we go out of our way to make sure we are not a school-sponsored organization. However, it is very much to support the schools, and so would that be something that would be a charge to use the kitchen, or, you know, like,
See, and I
how do
think-
we?
Yeah, and I think that's where I would lean more to a stipend, right?
Okay.
Like, because, and I'm gonna use Bo as an example, we paid Connor, was his name? This guy Connor, and he was the AV supervisor for the district, and he got X amount of stipend, right, for it. And then, if there was an event such as the PTO coming in and was gonna show a movie, say in the auditorium, right? Then
Oh, it's already 8:00.
he would come in and do it, right?
Okay.
Like, that's just how it
Right.
would work. Like, we didn't have to pay him extra money. That was part of what it was. You're on call to do these things.
Yeah.
Now, if there was there was ways in that contract where, like, hey, I remember one year we had a presidential candidate come in, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a little
Something
bigger than a PTO
Yeah.
breakfast,
Yeah.
right? So when he was hired for that, it was a separate deal, and he got paid more money to kind
Yeah.
of run that type of thing, you know? So, but your lay, like, hey, look at the play, right? Like, we have people run that during the play and stuff like that, like,
Yeah.
it's taken care of.
I just wanna make sure that we you know, that it's kinda spelled out, because I wouldn't
Yeah.
want there to be confusion of, well, we're kind of a school-sponsored event, but we're not really a school-sponsored event, but we could be
Yeah.
a school-sponsored event.
So I
and-
put an example of what, and this is not decision, this is more just discussion, introducing the idea here of like, hey, we need to figure out how to take care of these situations when they arise, you
Yeah.
know? And like, if we're gonna rent out the place, have a plan in place on how
Yeah.
we're gonna execute this type
So
of
let's
stuff.
hold that thought.
Yeah.
I know I'm getting lost in the
Yeah.
discussion of stipend and international students tonight, but it is 8:15, as Vice Chair Ames reminded me. I would like to actually open it up for public comment tonight.
Sure.
So we'll turn it over for public comment.
It's nice being on this side. Elizabeth McDonald, 46 Natticook Ave. I am a taxpayer, an educator in district, and an LEA member. I really want to thank all of you for your time. I know you're away from your family. You're never thanked enough for the time you spend doing these things. I heard a lot of great talk about taxpayers and taking their thoughts and everything into mind. I appreciate that as a taxpayer. I appreciate your thought in all of the chatter, for lack of a better word. I did have a few things that I did want to comment on because it's really hard for me to stay quiet, all of you who have known me all these years. And I did my best today. I support the vision of the room, especially the engineering part. I think that's awesome. I think it's hard when you have a district of 300 or so odd kids in a high school to get to be everything for everybody. And our population is declining, and I really hope it does go back up. My two sons are doing extremely well, graduates of the school district. To Mr. Shoemaker's point, I love the fact that you want to highlight things that were necessary because we've all seen the budget committee and rationalizing all of the spending. I think if we've learned anything over these years, that pushing things off makes it 10 times worse in the long run. And it is disheartening spending money at GMS, but upkeep is paramount to keep our facilities in good working order. I think a painting rotation is an awesome start. I think that's great. I know it probably was hard for some of you to vote for that, but now we have a rotation in all the schools. We used to have prisoners come in and do it. They were cheap labor. They got out, we got something out of it. The chairs. I had a front row seat to watching the chair movement from my office. And to watch 4 custodians spend hours loading, unloading chairs back and forth, in the back of the building, in the front of the building, down to GMS, over to LMS, back up to CHS. I just, as a taxpayer, I'm like, look at all of those custodians just loading that up when they could be doing so many other things. I also thought tabling the idea of the cell phone, we don't know what's going to happen. Off and away, that doesn't work. I think what's going to work personally as a mom, as an educator, is consequences. You have your phone out, you're going to get in trouble, and there's going to be follow through. That's something that's been missing, and I've never denied a student, whether I was an elementary school teacher, middle school, a phone call home, ever. Middle of a lesson, I need to call my mom. They will always have access to a phone wherever they are in the district. I can almost guarantee that. There can never be enough cameras and safety in our buildings. I can't stress that enough. Kids know where the dark spots are. They know where they can go. Not that they're doing anything wrong, but we all know where those spots are. If something happens in that corner and that stairway at CHS, no one will ever know. Your word versus my word. And we never can have enough radios. I had to ask for a radio because in my old district, every special ed teacher had a radio. We depend far too much on cell phones as teachers and educators. We all should have a radio when we're outside during fire drills to communicate, to hear what's going on within our school. Athletics, they need a cart. I'm going to say it. I don't like to spend money. They need a cart because to watch Jesse, the athletic director, over in this corner watching lacrosse game, watching Tony go over to watch a baseball game, and the cart was out of commission for a week because it wasn't jumped and it needed a starter, and they do not share the other one. I don't think grounds is more important than student safety, personally, as a mother, that the grounds gets this beautiful gator and the guy who's carrying water and supplies has to bring his own car. That's my personal opinion. I'm just giving, since I'm the audience. And finally, I'd like to give a shout out to 2 of my sophomore students who replaced 17 broken balusters on the gazebo that was donated 25 years ago as a sophomore project. We also put lights in front of the sign going into CHS. We put lights on there, so that's lit up in the marble sign. We got the gardens, we planted new flowers. We throw in some annuals and perennials. We put in a new table and chair in the gazebo. What else did we do? They learned what weeds were and what weeds weren't. So we did weeds weren't, because some of them couldn't tell the difference.
They know what weed is.
Yeah, what's a weed? What's a weed? That was awesome. The table and chairs, I saw a bunch of seniors in there. I thought that was awesome. They were all sitting in there enjoying it. And we did dig out, I'm sorry, you guys, we dug out a class gift from 2021, which are banners that were bought by the class of 2021, my son Michael's grade, that can hang out in the parking lot. They're not very big. They say character, courage, respect. And Julie and Brian are gonna make it a priority over the summer and the fall to have those hung up on the light posts, which I think will look really cool. And all these things were brought to you by Sophomore Projects at Campbell High School. And I'm really excited for next school year. I love all you've done. I know it hasn't been easy being new, a lot of new. Campbell's gonna be a lot of new next year, but I think you guys learned a lot and you did the best you could with what you got. And that's all I have to say. Thank you all. You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, with that, we'll close community input and continue the discussion on, where were we?
I think we were wrapping that
We were
up.
wrapped up.
We can just move on.
The AV, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got an idea.
I think my comment on that is, it seems to me that's like, it should be procedural to a policy, right? What, shouldn't that be talked about at that level first?
Yeah, we can do it that way. Yeah. I got an idea where to go with it.
Yeah.
I'm reading your faces and everything. That's all I needed. I'm good.
He has received the
Yep.
information he needed.
Telepathically.
Okay. Speaking of policy, I don't see first read or second read, so we're gonna skip over to that and move into old business, and we have food service.
I will make this brief just as follow-up. If we want to raise prices for next year, we need to make that decision sooner than later. If you're not gonna raise prices next year, we do not need to make any decisions sooner or later. So that's the big follow-up from Lauren's presentation last meeting.
Okay, and Lauren's presentation last meeting and the proposal was, putting à la carte aside a moment in the rates, right, was to gradually increase over the next 2 years to get to a rate of $4.25 leveled at each of the schools.
Yes.
So picking up on that discussion, interested in the board's thoughts.
I think it's hard to be that much above everyone else. I was really intrigued by the a la carte stuff. I think that I would be more inclined to see what we could achieve with something like that, and then make pricing decisions based off of that.
Is it harder to manage the inventory if you do à la carte without any kind of history?
You're losing some of your federal reimbursement with the a la carte stuff. Like, it's just not part of the equation anymore. You
Yeah.
have to buy the meal to get the federal
The
reimbursement. So from an inventory, you're only gonna put out stuff a la carte that you're ordering, right? And with some of the a la carte, let's say meatball subs is the lunch, right? Like,
Even the meatball subs.
I love the meatball subs. They're my favorite school lunch. That's my example. So like, if you're doing the
Mine too, by the way. 3 little tiny meatballs in a hot dog roll.
so if you're doing the meatball, if you're buying the lunch, right, and we're gonna get the federal reimbursement, you gotta get the drink, the juice, the vegetables, and then you gotta get the entire thing, right? If you start to transition but you'll get the reimbursement for it when people buy it. If you do the a la carte model or mix of it, then people might come in and just buy a meatball sub, right? And they're gonna skip the juice, they're gonna skip this. So that's straight revenue, well, not straight revenue, because you're offsetting labor and everything, but you're not, you can charge that for lunch might be $4.25, you're charging, $3, $3.50 for the meatball sub, and the kids might just grab that, and that's just a better, like, balance of all the money when it's all said and done.
Didn't you say that like kids are already not grabbing the things that we need them to grab?
You usually have to remind them to grab everything to make it a lunch. Like,
Right.
back in the day when I would be in the lunch room, like behind the scenes every day with it, you constantly remind kids, like, hey, you gotta grab your juice, hey, you gotta grab
Why
your
can't
thing.
we
you gotta do
mandate
this.
that?
What's that?
And just, why can't we mandate that that's what they need to grab as a part of the value package meal?
We do.
Stand
That's what we're
over
telling
them, stand
You
over them
have
and
to
say,
grab
"Eat it."
Right, you have to grab the stuff. And, you know, it's really
The
disheartening.
government says you need to eat this right now.
That you see, like, but there's no way around it, because if you ever got audited this, and you have to train kids to do it, because you have to report out all the numbers of stuff that you've bought and then put back out into the system. But you see kids just buy the fruit and vegetables and then just dump it
Throw it
in the
away.
trash.
Right, I was gonna say,
right?
there's
You
gonna be a
know?
ton of waste.
Yeah, so, you know, this à la carte, I mean, you have to be on it as a parent, right? Because your kid's not running up this incredible bill, because then they can just like buy whatever, right?
5
So
people subs.
they could buy, well, you see, so, I mean, we're talking high school, right? Bigger kids are gonna buy multiples of stuff, right? Like, I mean, I'm
Well, but I mean,
bigger
as a
guy,
parent,
football
though,
player in
we're-
high school, like, you know, I'm buying more food to eat because I need that.
But we
food.
also talked about getting our unpaid balances down, right? And she has a plan for that too. I think, you know, going this, you know, sort of capitalist route here, I think is going to be beneficial. And I think the other thing it does too is people that have the money to just buy, you know, 4 meatball subs like Brian would do, you know, that's great. That's going to bring in the revenue for us. But I think that if we could see how that goes, the biggest concern with raising the meal prices was people that are really close to that free and reduced lunch but are not, right? And how that's going to impact them. And it was a tough, for me, you know, there's plenty of people who could afford $4.25, right? I don't deny that. But for me, it was that unknown that you can't really control for. And I think if we can try this other method where we could probably, it sounds like other districts that do it make a good amount of money up on that.
Well, Bo does it, right? That's where this idea comes from, and it could be an anomaly for that district, or it could be that they're onto something, right? Like, and this is where the a la carte comes in. The kids just come in. It's pretty open, right? And like, kids just come in and grab whatever is out, right? They're not being served. It's like sitting there, like, to grab, and then they just go to the register, and they're being charged like whatever they come up to the register with, right? If they don't grab the full lunch, then like, they're not being charged a lunch, they're being charged each a la carte item, right? And like, I have seen, this, like, parents need to maybe be aware if they care. I've seen kids come up and get like 2/3 of the lunch, where that is more expensive than the lunch itself, because they're buying each at the a la carte price, rather than grab the like fruit.
It drops
to
the price
complete
down.
it, to drop it down. They're just like, I'm not gonna eat it, I'll just pay for these 2 things. Right?
But even from an educational perspective, right? Like, there's a life skill that you could really benefit from before you go to college.
Math
And
teacher should be,
Now, again, you see with with this grab, like quick grab kind of
yeah, grab
system,
and go kind of thing.
kind of grab and go system, is that kids will come up multiple times, right? Again, we're talking at high school level, bigger kids that like are just gonna consume more food, or they're grabbing multiple things their first time through the lunch. You're not limiting their like to a lunch through the system and stuff like that. But I will tell you, like, there are times like I have seen the Bo food director or heard the Bo director call a parent and be like, your kid ran up $100 bill this week. And there's no way my kid did. Yeah, we did. We checked the camera. He came up 5 times, like, each day to get food, right? Like, you have to be attentive. Like, we're not going to reimburse you if your kid buys $100 worth of food over the course of the week, right? Like, you have to be, it's a little onus on the parents to keep track of the account that the kid's doing and stuff like that.
quite the opposite. We're going to be soaring into the black.
But I mean, like, that's part of, like, look, it's profitable. That's the, like, the capitalism
Well,
of
if your
it,
bad
right?
debt's
Like, in that
20%.
model, right? They're pretty open about, like, we're gonna make money on this program, and if your kid's a sucker who's gonna buy all this food, then, like, we're gonna take advantage of it. And I guess the transparency and openness of it, everyone's cool with it. Like, there was never any pushback or any, like, problems with it, you know, but in that community, you know, but it's pretty, like, yeah, we're in this to make money.
Well, the reality is you still have the option to buy a lunch at the price that we've set, right? So you're not taking that away from someone and saying, by the way, it's all up to your kid now to figure this out. But if your kid's hungry, teach them about budgeting.
I mean, I will say, as even going through high school and everything, and I was not a big kid. I barely weighed 100 pounds at 16. But running 3 season long distance track, right? I needed a full meal between school ending and before that track meet. Otherwise, my calories dropped, my blood sugar dropped, and like I ran into danger areas. So there is just a convenience of a grab and go that I can go grab a meatball sub, or I can go grab the leftover pizza or 2 slices and something and just grab it, hit the bus, and go.
Yeah,
I
and they're
was-
grabbing additional stuff too, right? Like, so
Right.
when they're grabbing that meatball sub, they're grabbing the bag of chips, they're grabbing the pack
Yeah.
of cookies, they're grabbing this. So they're like, they're getting all these things. They might even be charged for the lunch, and now they grab the extras. as
Well, I was also a little surprised to hear. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Lauren say that the portion sizes are pretty much identical from elementary school to high school?
Yeah, I think there's some
Except
stuff
for
with the
pasta and
grains
something
a little bit
Yeah, the
pasta.
pasta and the vegetables.
There's a couple of things that are
And that was
different.
news
But
to
a
me.
four, you get 4
Yeah,
ounces
shocking.
of chicken
That's
at
different than what
elementary
was explained
and
to
high
us
school.
prior.
100%. Right. So,
And, you know, watching the 3 schools, I would say that's probably accurate that they're giving out the same amount of food for the most part, just being in the lunchrooms and seeing it in all 3 schools. Like, I would always assume high school is bigger because they're bigger, but, yeah.
so my personal feeling about this, all the food stuff, is I would love to see you guys identify a space, because I know that there's like an additional space that they need to do this. I'd love for you to take one of those cameras we just approved and point it at that space. And I would love to just see if we could implement this and try this out and see how it works. I think, the sooner we do it, the better. Let's see if we can improve the calculus on the lunch program. And then if it's still not working, I think we do have to.
I think there's more to it though than just that, right? Because I think it's a fundamental change in the operations of the kitchen and being continuously able to put out food on demand
Yes.
and have it being readily available. And I don't know that we're equipped.
But I don't know that it's a lot of this is on the on-demand stuff is not prepared food, right? A lot of it's snack.
Oh, a lot of it's prepared
Yeah,
food.
they're having
Like,
cheeseburgers,
so-
24.
Yeah,
You can buy a cheeseburger all day.
Well, yes and no. So
Example,
like,
you know what I mean?
like
Yeah, but-
during like, you really got to see it to believe it. It's like, it's kind of incredible to watch unfold. Like, they have a cafe that is open the entire school day, right? That from before school, like school probably starts at 7:30. I've already forgotten. It's a year later, but school starts say at 7:30. It opens at about 7, and they're doing breakfast till about like, they're doing all breakfast until lunch.
sandwich.
Right, and kids are stopping by, and it's not just breakfast, it's coffees, it's waffles, it's all the stuff, right? All the little snacky stuff. They're constantly muffins, all of it. They're selling it constantly all morning. Now, Bo is open campus, right? Like, if you don't have class, you're just free and loose. So what do kids do when they're free and loose? They eat, so they hunt down the food and they buy it. So, but then they switch it over to lunch, and both things are open during lunch. You can go through and get like hot lunch food, your meatball subs, your slices of pizza through like the normal lunch line, and that's grab and go. And the cafe's still going with separate stuff that you can come in and grab and stuff like that. Again, it's like an open campus model. Like, you have a ton of bodies just floating around the school.
It's more like a
I
I
college.
think we don't.
It's
lose
more like a
anything
college.
by
Meal center.
letting Lauren try.
Yes, that's a good way.
If
of
there's
thinking
anyone
about it.
that can, she does not really bring things to us unless she's actually thought through them.
Now,
I mean,
she went to Bo and she's watched it all. She's talked to Tiffany a lot. Like, I am curious on how this could go. The lunches are like really calm, which is a good thing. Like, ultimately in the big scheme of things, there's not like the controlled chaos like the Bo lunches, but maybe a little controlled chaos of kids coming up and down in multiple times in the line would be helpful for this part of it, right? So, we can see.
She has a lot of good ideas.
She's got some good ideas.
So really good.
I think like I don't know how you, the quantity, I mean, the cafe is like the thing she's got to crack, right? Like, that's where I think Bo is turning over all the money, right? Like, I think, yes, they're making money during lunch on lunch, but like, it's that cafe
I
that is
agree with that.
constantly grinding out stuff that they're making their money off of, right? Like, that's why it's in the black.
I mean, think about it's not just students, right? Like teachers.
I mean, I would go and
Absolutely.
buy stuff down there, yeah.
I drink coffee like it's going out of style. I probably, if I was a teacher and I had to be there at the crack of dawn, I'd be
Yeah, I certainly had an
muffins.
account, and
Love
I would
muffins.
get stuff all the time. They would make my special meatball subs for me.
I just would like to see.
7:45 a.m.
I would like to see her work through it. I'd like to see her like actually try to roll this out and see what it looks like. I mean,
So does the grab and go offset the loss and reimbursement from the federal government at Bow?
At Bow, yeah.
How many kids at Bow?
About 625, give or take.
So I'm just gonna ask a question, is any board member interested in continuing the discussion of raising rates?
Maybe we need to do both. I like this idea of the cafe and the grab and go thing, but given where we fall every single year, it may be a baby step this year, and then maybe something next year. See how this goes.
I'm of the opinion, just to answer the question myself, right? I'm of the opinion where the deficit is increasing. We're seeing that, and I think we need to take a step to offset that to the taxpayers. I like the idea of the a la carte. I'm nervous. Lauren's great. I'm nervous for our staff in executing that type of program, right? Because of the constant food and the pizza every day, and that's a completely different model that I'm sure Lauren can figure it out, but I think it's going to be a big adjustment for the kitchen. It's not going to be smooth sailing.
Do we know how the vending machine has done? I mean, that's kind of an a la carte
I don't know,
type.
but like that'd be a good question because that's
Yeah, I
revenue.
can get more
Right,
info on
but if that, and again, that to me is a la carte, kids after school, there's some sandwiches in there.
Yeah.
Are those selling out? Is that doing well? Does that have is there an appetite for more?
I know
unintended?
Tiffany is great at both. Tiffany pushes the envelope on what she can sell. Like we would sell Prime in the vending machines. I don't know how, from a nutritional standpoint, we could justify it, right? Like
I'm sure that would
There's a
quick.
couple
You're talking-
in here.
exactly,
Is it that a drink?
it's like this drink.
It was like
Let's call it an energy drink.
Yeah.
Like
it was like the rage though. It was like you couldn't find it.
you
in
couldn't find it,
stores.
so we would stock
kids
it.
still buy
and
it.
it's go like that, right?
Tastes good.
And somehow she made everything work where it fit from a nutritional standpoint, or the hours she sold it, or whatever it was. Like she would push it, and Lauren's great, and she's a rule follower, so she's not pushing things like in that way. And that's not a critique.
Yeah,
just like-
but I have to tell you, Lauren was like devastated that there's a deficit again, which
I
we
know,
knew was going to
she
happen, but she was like really upset by it. So
Yeah.
I think that Lauren could be creative if it comes to.
But you will have to get buy-in from the staff, right? And change is typically not met with open arms.
I think we've had a lot of positive change this past year, though. And I think people's mindsets, people are in a good mindset right now. If they're going to embrace change, I think right now is when they're going to be willing to do it.
So I think maybe we do we do both.
I'm not in favor of raising the lunch prices right now. I think compared to other towns in our area, I don't think that it makes enough of a difference to make it worth. I think it hurts more than it helps, is my personal opinion. The amount of money that you gain by adding the extra money per lunch, to me, isn't worth the potential of having kids that can't afford to buy lunch. And there's just no way about it, except for Portsmouth. And if we're going to compare ourselves to Portsmouth, really, we would be the most expensive. That's just not something that I think is sustainable for particularly our elementary school families. But so I have a hard time with raising. I feel like we're already higher than most of the other schools in our area. So I struggle with that one a lot. I am much more in favor of trying the a la carte approach, but I don't know that we should expect to see. Maybe I'm in the minority, and I'm okay if I am in the minority, but I don't have the expectation of the lunch program breaking even. I just don't. I don't think it's something that is shown to be possible for a district our size. I know Ms. Douglas would disagree with me wholeheartedly, and that's okay. But I think it's more important for our kids to have healthy meals, at least have guaranteed that one healthy meal during the school year. That's my feeling.
On the subject of raising prices, I think holistically we have to look at, where can we start becoming efficient and with the dollars that we have, and what doesn't make sense for us to carry to the taxpayer. so I see it on that aspect. I guess, is there something that we can do to help out that marginal group that, Matt, you're concerned about? From, like, starting, maybe putting a trust fund aside for something like that for that marginal group with an application and showed certain criteria?
I think the hard thing, not just here, anywhere, it's called free and reduced lunch, right? Like, and if people will fill that out, there is a mechanism.
But the threshold is like insanely low.
Yeah, it's super low. So Andrew and I
But-
talked about
but-
this a while ago, is to create some sort of, I think I called it like internal help.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
that's what I mean.
we could do some sort of account, we'd have to probably do it as a warrant article,
Yep,
you know,
I
and,
completely understood.
or make it, you know, people could voluntarily contribute.
Do we know what price we have to be at to break even? Isn't it like $8 or $9?
Yeah, it's not,
Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you're gonna talk about breaking even, including the cost of the staff, yeah, it's big.
But you have to include the cost of the staff. I mean.
Right. So, but it's like $8 or $9, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I could be on the fence because, like, I mean, I can swing it, right? It's not gonna hurt me, it's not gonna hurt my pocket that much, but there is a group here that could be adversely affected by this. So I can see both sides. For the a la carte stuff, I would like to see the plan. I mean, I'm not gonna say no to it. I would like to see the plan and what the idea is. If there's a way to do it that Lauren has seen that's not Bo, and they do this successfully for the a la carte. And, you know, because she also brought up, you know, not an ATM, but debit card machine or a credit card machine. And see where that goes, right, to help offset.
I think one of the challenges is there's not many districts.
Yeah,
that
sometimes
are
you have to
trying.
forge the path.
There are.
Yeah, I
Right.
Vast
completely
majority are
understand.
in the red. Like, that's just the way the system is set up, you know? I've worked at Bo, I don't understand why it works. Like, I do, like, I see it, but like, it is crazy how much money they make on this program. I don't know why. Like, I don't know why it can't be duplicated.
Twice the number of students, right? So that's a bigger,
But like a bigger district like Goffstown, for example, right? They were in the news about having huge debts in their food service program, right? They're twice the size of Bo, you know, and they're in the red. Like, I don't know what the magic elixir there that makes it
Right.
work.
other I mean, it could be just demographics of Goffstown too.
Yeah.
Goffstown, New Boston, Pernodville, whoever else goes there.
So I don't think we're ready to make a decision.
Yeah.
I'd like to add it to our agenda in July again, but
At least you didn't say next week.
I'd like to ask, I don't know that we're gonna have a meeting next week.
I know, I was kidding.
I'd like to ask if it's possible for Ms. Crowley to come back, potentially, if she's available. And talk to us about a plan for the a la carte menu.
Yep.
And let's see potentially how that can be executed.
There is a shot I could talk Tiffany into coming, the Bo director, and maybe like you can ask her some questions like, how do you make this work?
I want
You know?
Lauren and Tiffany to figure that out, and I want to hear from Lauren
Yeah.
on how she can execute it.
Yeah.
Like on a reasonable plan with the staff that she has on how this could potentially work.
But if we're looking to try to like get information that's going to be actionable, like it might not hurt to have Tiffany, if she's willing to come in, because the board may come up with questions there that, you know, we would have to put through Lauren to get to, you know what I mean? Like, if we're trying to make a decision on it, it might make sense if she's willing to join. Obviously, Lauren has to own it, but
Look, I worked free for Tiffany for like 3 or 4 years in that kitchen, so she owes me a favor too.
I think that'd be great.
Okay,
Yeah,
sounds
I
good.
agree with
That sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
Perfect. And then we'll try and target first meeting in July to make decision.
Yeah.
That way you have direction moving forward. Sound like a plan?
Yep.
Does that still give enough time to?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think as far as the pricing goes, that was the only thing that she really needed to know sooner rather than later, just so she could add it to the application if anything anything was changing, but, so that's fine to leave that off.
Okay.
Yeah, she'll just leave it at the same.
Okay, July 9th.
And then the meal charging policy, I think we also. I
Well,
think
we
she-
want to bring that through policy committee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect, okay.
All right. Thank you for that discussion.
That the meal charging thing though, what was it? Our deficit is like pretty,
Relatively
It's
pretty
relative,
low,
though.
yeah.
I thought it was fairly high, no?
Well, it depends on your definition of high comparative to other school
In the
districts.
thousands, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like $5,000 or something like that.
$5,000 and, what was it, we were 80,000?
I mean, Timberlane's was like almost
All
six
right, we're
figures.
gonna move it forward in the interest of time. So next up, school board comments.
I'd like to make a comment about the deficit. No, I'm just kidding.
Great.
Well played.
Can't cut me off.
So the only thing is, have we tried talking to either of the golf courses in town to see if they have a cart that they would be willing to donate that we could retrofit for athletics?
No, I've never thought of that, but that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, Pastor Conway did.
Yeah,
maybe
Litchfield
there's
and all
something-
the broken ones, or Hidden Creek. So I just think that it's a possibility because I know that they do veterans tournaments, they do tournaments all over the place. So maybe
They do our athletics tournament, I
right.
think.
So
No,
I
they
mean,
don't? Oh,
maybe
they're
if
just
we
kidding.
can reach out to say, hey, listen, like we're in the need of a cart, right? Like if they can donate a cart, I'm sure we'll figure out how to go get it retrofitted and get the charger for it as needed.
That's a good idea.
But something like that.
It's a great idea.
Reach out to Joy.
Okay.
She runs the courses.
Yeah. I contacted her on the FIC stuff a year ago.
Good idea. Any other comments?
I was just gonna say, again, great job to the whole district for all the end of the year events. They were all fantastic. I was able to go to 4th grade, 8th grade, and high school to represent the board, and they were all really great. They always do a good job with those. I'd be remiss if I didn't say a thank you. I know he's not retiring and he's leaving the district, but Mr. Keefe has been part of the district for 20-something years, and I feel like it's important, at least for me, on a board level as well as a parent level who had a kiddo that really connected with him, to thank him for all of his years, especially those years as LEA president during COVID. They did a number, I think, and so all the work he put into the district is so appreciated, and I think he touched a lot of kids, and so he will be missed.
I agree. He had both of my kids too.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Absolutely, and I did send him a direct email as well,
Good.
thanking him.
Yep.
So, all right, excellent. Any other comments? All right, moving into manifest this evening. So, manifest items. Is this it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't have access to this one, so. We have balloon payment, this is manifest from June 18th, 2025, balloon payment of $983,940.73. We have voluntary 403B for $21,134.74, payroll of $168,621.78, accounts payable of $83,526.91, accounts payable of $109,375.20, another accounts payable of $45,622.32, another accounts payable of $41,098.75, and credit card of $13,072.57. It's definitely end of school year. That's what that means. Okay. With that, we'll move into non-public. I'll make a motion to enter non-public.
Second?
We have a motion by myself, second by Mr. Plansky. We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Plansky?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Miss Ames?
Aye.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Hi.
Thank you very much. We are now into non-public. We hope everyone has a great evening. Our next board meeting officially will be July 9th at this point. Excellent. Hopefully everyone has a great 4th of July. Thank you very much.